From closed session to open session, reconvening to our regular meeting. First, I'll give a item 5 closed session report. Number 1, public employment PE 2324-6. The board approved a request for job share for the 24-25 school year. Item 2, BEA negotiations, nothing to report. CSEA negotiations, nothing to report. Next up is patriotic exercises, and we have a performance.
Early lights, what so bright, we at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars, rolling skies, for the great hearts we lost, were so gallantly streaming, and and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that our spangled banner for the land and the
That was fantastic. Thank you. All right, next up, roll call. Trustee Mudd,
Here.
trustee Ghulam Hussain,
Here.
trustee Wong,
Here.
trustee DeVoy. Here. And I'm here. All present. Item 8 is approval of the agenda. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next, public statements related to agenda items. Do we have any public statements?
Two on agenda items.
Okay, perfect. Item 10, union statement from the BEA, and I believe Danny Bird is presenting. There he is.
Ready? I have a few brief statements. First of all, congrats to everyone who is graduating in a day and a half. Thank you to the BEA board. Thank you. I'm throwing my back out doing that. All right. Congratulations, Dr. Silversmith, on your first official year as our superintendent. Thank you. We look forward to our ongoing negotiations, which continue next week. And it's been a really great year, and we're excited to see how everything wraps up and the memories really take place. Congratulations to all of our retirees. I believe Curtis, you're in here somewhere. Curtis, I don't know how we're gonna get our wires uncrossed without you. Lisa. Saw you. Lisa, I'm sure the Hoover Hawks are gonna continue to soar even in your absence. And on a separate note, Denise. You're a retiree from BIS and you're also vice president of the BEA negotiations. Your absence is gonna be felt. And you've left an impeccable mark on all of our negotiations, even in our small but mighty community. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11, statement from the CSEA. Lori Suhu? She is.
Scares me. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Lori Suhu. I am secretary at McKinley Elementary School and also the president of the CSEA Burlingame chapter. With the school year coming to a close, I want to give a sincere thank you to our very own Dr. Silversmith. She has done a tremendous job in the first official year as our superintendent. I see this now that her heart is in the right place. As a member of the community district and as a member of our union, I feel grateful that she will continue to lead us in the coming years. To the board, thank you for the support you have given to CSEA. Without you, we would not be here with a smile on our faces. We were able to ratify many articles from providing part-time employee health compensations to a state-funded summer program for those employees that qualify. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Tiffany Seagraves, who will be speaking. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Seagraves. I've worked in the district for around 13 years. I've held various roles. I was the lunch lady at BIS and Washington. I was once the pony, and now I'm the custodian at Hoover Elementary with our wonderful principal Lisa Booth. And I love my job so much. I really, truly love it. I always tell Lisa they're going to have to pay me to leave. But unfortunately, things are so expensive here, and every year it's getting harder and harder to live here in affordable housing in San Mateo County. And I know that the district and the CSEA, we have been negotiating, and I just hope in the future when it comes to that time and we consider salary increases, that we just keep in mind people like me and my coworkers and everyone else.
It works.
It works now. Yeah, it can. All right. Now I'll use the indoor voice. My name is Greg Land. I'm principal of Burlingame Intermediate School. Statement of the principals. We just have, as part of the principalship, we're going to so miss Lisa Booth. She has been such an important part of Burlingame School District. I've met her over 20 years, 15, 16, 17 years ago. I can't even remember. And all the work she's done at Franklin, all the work she's done at Hoover, she's truly going to be missed. I've seen her as a board, being on the board and seeing her and going to schools and watching and seeing what she's doing. And I've just been so fortunate to be a colleague this year. I've learned so much from her and just got to see her in a different light. And it's really, I'm going to be sad to see her go. So Lisa, that was for you. Other than that, we're going to keep this short because you have a wonderful agenda tonight to see all the celebrations. I think that's something that's really important to do. So we've been really crazy busy all this year, just trying to get to the end. I have a day and a half and we have I'll do a great speech at the promotion ceremony on Thursday. Hope to see you there. And happy summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, statement of Dr. Silversmith, Superintendent.
All right, I too am going to keep it brief because we have such a great crowd and I can't wait to see all of our students and everybody perform. And I know we have a large band waiting to come in too. Just a couple of great celebrations in the last month. We had BIS's 70th birthday. We had many great spring concerts. We had the Rotary Teacher of the Year, who's also here with her parents tonight. We can't wait to see that. We had amazing open houses, great scholars circles, BIS's School Olympics, which was phenomenal. We are looking forward to going back to the table with both BEA and CSCA, which is great. We had the inaugural Mariachi recital. I had the honor of sitting on San Mateo County's executive director interviews for Safe and Supportive Schools, which is a great support to the Burlingame School District. And we look forward to working with them closely. Roosevelt held their TEDdy Talks, which I heard was phenomenal with lots of blank slides. I attended the volunteer fair, which the Burlingame Cities turned us onto this Saturday, where it was great. It was about 30 booths and BCE was there along with me, along with Trustee Wong, which was phenomenal. And we look forward to all of our last day of school celebrations, promotions, and graduations. And I also attended San Mateo County School Board District, their board meeting where BIS received their certificate of appreciation for being recognized as a California Distinguished School this year. So 1 year it's middle school, so next year it's elementary. I look forward to all 6 of our elementaries being named next year, but our one BIS got it this year. So Greg, I'm bringing you back your certificate so you can hold it now because I brought it tonight. And we look forward to working with our bond program. Richard's in the back. All of our schools will be getting a large seal on the front of the schools. We're looking forward to putting those up. And we also were able to celebrate one of our own Lincoln Lions who drew a picture that's on the side of the Samstrans buses going around town. So that's very exciting. But yes, lots going on. And I wish everybody a wonderful summer. And I do just want to take a quick moment because many of you might have heard that we did have one of our own students in a very serious e-bike accident. And I'd like to take just a quick second to, Renee, that's driving me crazy. Just a quick second to a moment of quick silence just to send him healing positive thoughts. And as we take that moment, please also talk to your own students about bike safety, wearing bike helmets, and being aware as they travel around this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Statements of board members. We'll start with Lisa.
This is the best board meeting we have of the year, so I'm so excited to have so many people here to be part of the celebration. But because we have so many people that are here, I also want to take advantage of the moment and let everyone know that we have 3 board vacancies starting in November. And if you are interested in serving on the board, we're looking to fill space in or fill seats in areas 2, 3, and 5. You can go onto the district's website and plug in your address to see if you would be a candidate. And if you are, and if you're interested, we would love to sit down, have coffee, get on the phone, whatever works for you. And I also want to thank Greg Land and all of the teachers at BIS for a remarkable BIS Olympics. What a tradition. I think 40 years that right? And there were teachers there that were talking about their experience as children at BIS, going through the Olympics. So it was really wonderful. And I just want to wish everyone a happy summer and be healthy and safe, and we'll see you in the fall.
Sorry.
Didn't know if I had to wait to be called on. Agree. Happy summer. It feels like summer in here, actually. But thank you to all of you and congratulations to everyone that is getting promoted and graduating and moving on to this next step. We're really proud of you.
I was able to attend the Teddy Talks program at Roosevelt, and it was awesome as usual. My own daughter, who just graduated from BIS or BHS, actually, recently did her Teddy Talks, and I still remember it. And I think they are just an amazing experience for the students, and it really shows later when they're older. And I think for the first time you had alumni come back and talk about what it was like for them to do their Teddy Talks, and the kids are looking at these, big, boys and girls like, wow, and they are very impressive. And I don't actually think it's an exaggeration to say that Teddy Talks actually was a pretty big influence on their ability to be great speakers and that confidence and voice that it instills in the kids. It's really important. And I do want to also say, I hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable summer. I hope your kids get to be kids this summer and get to relax and have some fun, and not have to think about school for a little while. Just be kids. Thanks.
I just wanted to thank everyone, principals, teachers, and staff for another great year and all your hard work. Thank you.
Thanks. I won't add much. I attended some of the events that have already been discussed. We've also done some work on the Parcel Tax Exploration Committee, had a couple of meetings and met with the Chamber of Commerce for lunch today, which was productive. And just echo everyone's comments for a safe and fun and relaxing summer. Thank you. All right, next is the consent agenda, and I would like to pull one item from the consent agenda, which is 15A, second read board policy on student wellness. We'd like to pull that to the open session. We'll move it after item 18D, or B, sorry, B as in boy. So with that removal, would entertain a motion to, I don't need a second for that, right? Really?
No.
Okay, I guess with that change, we'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve tonight's consent agenda with the removal of 15A, second read board policy on student wellness.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. All right, now we can move on to the fun part. Item 16 is our recognition, and we have a number of them this evening. And I'll turn it to you, Marla.
Great. I'm honored tonight to bring our first recognition, which is going to be our mariachi performers. Our mariachi performers tonight are coming in. This started in January. They should be coming in any minute. They started in January performing on Tuesday nights. They received their instruments in February, and they had their inaugural performance last week. It starts at 5 o'clock, and it's open for tutoring and homework help, and they also receive dinner. And then from 6 to 8 o'clock, they receive vocal and instrumental lessons. We're very excited. They are students from 3rd through 8th grade, and we are already working with San Mateo Union High School District on the plan to be able to ensure that our students, when they go up to high school, would be able to come back and still receive lessons and supports at McKinley. We're thankful that McKinley opened up their NPR and allowed us to take over classrooms. Thank you to the McKinley teachers here tonight that allowed us to take over their classrooms every Tuesday night, and hopefully we did not leave them in too much of disarray. Mr. Paveo, do you know if they're behind? Oh, they are. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna get out of the way so that they can come.
Buenas tardes.
Me llamo Natalia Tarango.
Y me llamo Juliana Carrera. Oh. Estamos emocionadas para estar aquí esta noche y presentar Mariachi Unidos. Este programa de mariachi es para todas las escuelas en Burlingame. En Mariachi Unidos no solo aprendemos sobre la música, sino también celebramos nuestra cultura, nuestra comunidad y crea un orgullo e identidad entre los estudiantes.
La música de mariachi tiene una rica historia llena de tradiciones. Y con este programa tenemos la oportunidad de presentar y compartir la música con ustedes. Esto es un programa que nos une. Aprendemos disciplina y podemos expresarnos en forma creativa.
Queremos darles las gracias a los miembros de la Junta de Educación por su apoyo con este programa.
Su compromiso al enriquecimiento de nuestra educación y su apoyo a la diversidad cultural sinceramente ha hecho una gran diferencia.
Gracias por creer en nosotros y en el poder de la música de mariachi.
Esperamos seguir adelante compartiendo nuestra música folclórica mexicana con el apoyo de todos ustedes.
Good evening,
My name is Natalia Tarango.
and my name is Juliana Carrera. We are excited to be here today to introduce Mariachi Unidos. This mariachi program is open to all our Burlingame schools and is not just about music. It's about celebrating our culture, building community, and fostering the sense of pride and identity among students.
Mariachi has a rich history and tradition, and through this program, we have the incredible opportunity to learn, perform, and share this vibrant art form with our school and community. It's a program that brings us together, teaches us discipline, and allows us to express ourselves creatively.
We want to extend our gratitude to the Board of Trustees for your unwavering support in making this program a reality.
Your commitment to enriching our education and embracing cultural diversity has truly made a difference.
Thank you for believing in us and the power of mariachi music.
We look forward to sharing our journey and our music with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
As they exit, I just want to say thank you to all the maestros and maestra. She's not here tonight, but they drive all the way from San Jose every Tuesday to come and teach our students. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to the parents who did this for us too and come every Tuesday on time, practice with their kids, listen to those trumpets for the last 3 months. And we look forward to making sure that the third graders also go into our fourth grade instrumentals next year too. Okay, up next, we have our dual language immersion 8th grade class student celebration. This is our inaugural celebration of students who have made a 9-year commitment to speaking dual language. If you wouldn't mind, if you are an 8th grade student, if you could come and right there at the very front, Miss Fabris, can you stand right there with that black line is, and Miss Nagami, if you could stand right there, if you could line up right there. And then Board of Trustees, we're gonna go over there and I'm gonna hand you ropes. And we'll talk through it as we go. This is our inaugural celebration. So in Burlingame, we have one program that is a dual language immersion program, and our students beginning kindergarten, and you cannot join this program after halfway through first grade if you are an native English speaker. So many of these kids, how many of you started in kindergarten with us at McKinley? Wow. So 9 years these students have been with us. If you have been a teacher or an educator of these kiddos, can you please stand? Miss Harmia, Miss Tango, Miss Pratt, and Mr. Winter, can you please come up? Mr. Rand, I didn't see you come up. I'm gonna have you guys help us too. All right. So I'm gonna have each of you say your name and how long you've been with us and where you're going to high school next year. Can we just really quickly so everybody can hear? So where you're gonna go to high school next year and if you're gonna continue your path with Spanish, okay? And then if you could put a rope on and then we'll pass the rope down and everybody will get a chance to do a rope. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna have you go first. Oh. Sorry, wait, there's a lot of people, so I wanna make sure everybody gets to hear, okay? Here we go.
My name is Alexis Stoltz. I've been in the program for 2.5 years. And I'm gonna continue Spanish at BHS.
Awesome. All right. President Brown, would you like to please do the first ribbon, please? So this card signifies that you are approaching your seal of biliteracy. Congratulations. You are welcome. We'd love to do a picture. So if you wouldn't mind like maybe going behind and then we'll do a picture of everybody at the end.
My name's Tate Willis, and I've been in the program for 9 years since kindergarten, and I'll be continuing it at BHS.
Awesome. Congratulations.
My name's Addison Chu, and I've been in the program for 9 years, and I plan on continuing Spanish in BHS too.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Violet, and I've been doing Spanish since kindergarten, and I am going to continue doing it in BHS.
Congratulations.
My name is Andrew, and I'm gonna continue doing Spanish in BHS.
How long have you been in the program?
Like all my life.
Congratulations.
Hello, I'm Camila Saldana, and I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing in the program in BHS.
Awesome. Congratulations.
I'm Dominic Vito. I've been in the program since kindergarten. I will be continuing it at BHS.
My name is Leia Tejada, and I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will not be continuing the program at BHS.
Oh, bummer.
I'm Norris Gopazzi, and
Hold on. Sorry, you guys, it's really hard to hear her.
I'm Norris Gopazzi, and I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing in BHS.
Awesome. Congratulations.
My name is Juliana Lund. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing it at BHS.
Congratulations.
I'm Tian Casaza. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be continuing at BHS.
I'm Amelia Reith. I've been in the program for 9 years and I will be continuing at BHS.
I'm Ellie Rowlands. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing in BHS. My name is Ilsa Carlson. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing at BHS. My name's Allison Chewak. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I will be continuing at BHS.
My name's Elizabeth. I've been in the program for 9 years and I'll be continuing at BHS too.
I'm Ariana Minakawa. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be continuing at Design Tech.
Very cool.
My name is Dimitri Cookson. I've been in the program for 9 years, and then I'm going to BHS.
My name is Arjun Sharma. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be attending BHS.
My name is Dylan Enriquez. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be attending BHS.
My name is Wilma Weaver, and I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be continuing at BHS.
My name is Mitchell Rowe. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be continuing at Sarah.
My name's Sam Mullen Weaver. I've been in the program for 9 years, and I'll be continuing it at BHS.
My name is Bennett Bass, and
I've been in the program for 9 years and I'll be continuing at BHS.
I'm Daniel Salazar. Okay. I've been in the program for 9 years and I'll be 100% definitely be going on with this at BHS.
My name is Aisha Lignan. I've been in the program for 9 years and I'll be continuing it in BHS.
Awesome. Congratulations. If we could have you all stand together and have our trustees and our educators that have been with our students, stand with them, please. Yes, please. If we could all get together and take a picture. Yep, all of you too. One, two, three. Yeah. Thank you, students and families, for coming, especially at the short notice. Thank you, Chandra, for sending out every SOS last night. I appreciate it. Being a DLI student and promoting and working towards your approaching seal of biliteracy is a big commitment of families too, as we work towards our 4 pillars, ensuring that we're having students that are biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural. And we really appreciate the support that you all give to this commitment in this program. If any student did not receive their cord, they are welcome to get them from Mr. Land or the district office, and we will ensure that everybody gets them. Thank you again for this celebration, and we look forward to doing it next year. All right, up next for celebrations, Ms. Nagami and Mr. Colares. And any students that we have left that are part of the choir awards or the band awards for Music in the Park, and if you can bring your awards up, please. Yay, and if you want to come kind of center. Yeah. And we can get it. Nice. Over here center? Yeah, center. Oh. For you to be on the camera. We invited Mr. Colares and Ms. Nagami here today to talk a little bit about Music in the Park and the awards. Perfect. Well, and I saw, no, we have more than that. Maybe our students could tell us very briefly about the awards that were won and how they were won, please. Me?
Okay. We had won first place in our category. We had won first place in our category Accents by the Advanced Choir that we meet every morning. In the morning, we won first place in our category. And yeah.
We'll do band.
Okay, yeah.
I'll hold it for you.
Okay, yeah, can someone help me? I don't have enough arms. Hi, y'all. Yeah, so Music in the Parks is a cool little organization where they partner up local performance venues and parks. Yeah, music in the parks, heck yeah. And they kind of team up and they have some kiddos from around California. Any school from any area can sign up. And then the kiddos get to spend the rest of the day in the amusement park. So we had schools from all the way from Stockton, all the way from Monterey, all the way from, I learned about a place called Hoopla, California. It is a real place. And they came all the way down from there and we competed and celebrated and had a great time. And both groups landed in first place, and the BIS Symphonic Band also got a trophy for best overall. So, yeah.
All right. If we could get the board to take a picture with Ms. Nagami and Mr. Lawrence. And the band.
One, two, three. Let's do one more. One, two, three. Perfect.
Would you like to perfect? Thank you. Our next celebration is Miss Jessica Yen. Jessica Yen was voted amongst all of the teachers of BIS as the 2024 Rotary Teacher of the Year.
Hi, everyone. Oh, this is. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Yen. I teach sixth grade humanities, and this is my 11th year teaching here. So the title of my speech is called, it's so weird not facing the audience, but okay, I'll try. The title of my speech is called The Power of Connection. I first want to thank the board for inviting me here today and for working so hard for our school district. Thank you, Superintendent Dr. Marla Silversmith and Principal Land and Zachary Hansel, Dr. Williams, for always being so supportive and for continuously ensuring that our district is at the forefront of a holistic education. Thank you to my colleagues, I see a couple in here, for being my friends on and off campus, and for my family in the back for their unwavering support. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time to celebrate the incredibly rewarding yet difficult job of teaching. It's such a humbling experience to be recognized for my love of teaching. Today, I want to talk to you about the power of connection. Growing up, I never really had the cliche story of having a teacher to whom I could talk to outside of the classroom or bond with. There wasn't really a singular teacher who I adored or took the time to get to know me beyond the classroom walls. Sure, my teachers all taught their content very well, and I passed with good grades, floating along year after year. I turned out okay, had a normal trajectory of good grades in high school, did well in university, unfortunately ended up here. But I often think to myself, what if I had felt seen in those formative years? What if 10-year-old me had untapped potential? What if I was believed in? What if I felt a sense of community and importance to my teachers and peers? I decided to turn this nagging inner conflict into becoming my life's purpose, to help all kids feel worthy, seen, and connected. The journey of building connection with almost 1,000 kids in the past 11 years has been the most gratifying and joyous experience. Are you a morning or evening person? Minecraft or Roblox? Starbucks or boba? Favorite family recipe? These are all just a snapshot of the daily questions I ask my kids as I greet every individual at the door. Just from this quick 5-minute low-stakes interaction, I can also quickly gauge who has had a bad day, who hasn't eaten breakfast, and learn more about their quirks and family tradition. For our brain breaks, we build community in the classroom by playing quick camp-style games and laugh at how I am the least coordinated person at Bop It. Please don't judge me, but I cannot recall all the presidents of the United States or the elements in the periodic table. However, I can confidently tell you about Joshua's baseball tournament, Liam's upcoming birthday plans, or Lauren's favorite color. When you have a connection with your students, everything else falls into place. Your classroom turns into magic. The writing lessons become engaging, and reading is no longer a bore. Your attendance rates are near perfect, and I have written 0 referrals this year. Why? Because the kids feel safe, supported, and loved. What is scarier than getting a punishment from the office? disappointment and distrust from their peers and beloved teacher. As a toddler mom and humanities teacher, I wanted to end my speech with a spin on if you give a mouse a cookie, and this is my writing debut. But basically that picture story is like you give a mouse a cookie and then it leads to a crazy event, series of events, and then it eventually leads back to the mouse getting or wanting a cookie. If you give your students empathy. If you give your students empathy, they will feel safe and heard. When they do feel safe and heard, their confidence will probably grow. As confidence grows, students will take more risks. When students take more risks, failure is inevitable. With guidance and love, students turn failure into learning. And with this new resilience, we form our next generation of doctors, engineers, presidents, and activists. Now, when society wrongs them in some way, our now former students will show grace because they will be reminded of the time their favorite teacher showed them empathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yen. Thank you, Ms. Yen, and congratulations on BIS's Teacher of the Year. All right, up next, we have our first H.J. Burns Award, and President Brown will be presenting.
Thanks, you, Howard. You don't have to give now if you don't want to, but I have a few words to say. You can stand there. That's perfect. Thank you. We can all see you. So I just have a few things to share about Howard, and I'm not going to attempt to get everything because this man does a lot for his community, as I'm sure most of you know. Just in terms of our own district, Howard has served on the district's Citizen Bond Oversight Committee for almost 12 years. Over this period, the community has supported our schools with 4 separate bond measures, which we use to fund the schools, like the renovation to this building last year and the student resource center, the recreation center outside, the new gym were bond funded. And as a part of that, the Bond Oversight Committee plays a crucial role providing oversight and transparency. I've heard you give this description better than I have many times, but and it ensures that the bond funds are used as intended for capital improvements in our schools and district facilities. In this role, we calculated, Howard, you've attended over 50 meetings. That's probably conservative. You served as committee chair multiple times, and you presented to this board many times with your annual report, indicating what the findings in the work of the committee were. You've also coached girls basketball for years, I understand. And I understand your youngest, Charlotte, is graduating out of our district this year. So we're sorry to lose you from the district, and we hope to keep you on the committees. Real quickly, outside the district, Howard served on the Burlingame Traffic and Safety Commission for many years. He currently serves on the Parks and Rec Commission. These are not small commitments, and Howard does a lot. He has a pretty big day job as well, CAO and general counsel at a funded startup. So Howard does a lot for our community, very deserving of this award. I've had the privilege of working with you directly on the Bond Oversight Committee before I joined the board. And I just wanted to share a few personal observations and other from myself and others that have worked with you. Howard never does things halfway. He takes his role seriously, and he's always fully engaged. He's welcoming, appreciative, and respectful of all the volunteers that he works with. He has a unique ability to spark spirited and productive discussions without derailing the conversation. He takes the job seriously, as I said. So on behalf of the district and the community, I want to thank you, Howard, for your enormous contributions. I'm honored to present the H.J. Burns Award to you, Howard Wetton, for your service to the district and the community over the past dozen years. I think I have an award for you too.
Can I say a few words?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the invitation. On behalf of Congressman Kevin Mullen, I'm here today to present these awards. Howard, you are the first one. I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for everything you have done, for all your multitasking, for all your commitments, and for all your dedication above and beyond standards. Thank you.
Sure. And we also have a letter from the mayor of Burlingame, Donna Colson, to present you with. Howard, there's more. For the Board of Supervisors from San Mateo County. And this, and Senator Becker's office from the state of California Senate. Diane Pappin's office. Great. Yeah, we'd love to take a picture. And you're, let me hold these for you.
You hold one.
Oh, yeah, I don't have wall space for all this. Well, I was just floored when I found out that I was getting this award. I'll keep this quick because we have another honoree. I just want to thank everybody here and the people who worked with me over the years. Tim Ryan and Richard Tarones and his team aren't here, but they did a lot of the lifting to rebuild our school here at BIS, as well as all the work we've done at the other elementary schools. I really want to thank my family for lending me to the school district at least 5 times a year. I appreciate it. I have 3 daughters who've done the full 9 years in the school district. We're just finishing up. That's 27 years total. So the schools have given us a lot more than I could have possibly given back, and I'm appreciative of it. I'm the child of educators, and for me, public schools are just fundamental to who we are. And I am very appreciative for the opportunity to do just a little bit to help make it happen. So thanks.
One, two, three. Let's get one more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tonight, we have the pleasure of honoring Ingrid Gauthier, who's receiving the H.J. Burns Award for her outstanding dedication to the Burlingame School District. For the past 12 years, yeah, come on up. You're also in a beautiful gown, everyone. I'm going to say it to you, but it's for everyone. For the past 12 years, Ingrid has been a cornerstone in our schools. It's really actually hard to imagine our schools without her when her youngest, Astrid, graduates from BIS this week. So let's take a quick moment to look back and appreciate some of the incredible work Ingrid has done. Though honestly, if we mentioned everything, we'd be here until tomorrow, but still just get comfy in your seats. Lincoln PTA extraordinaire, PTA president extraordinaire. Ingrid served as the Lincoln PTA president for 2 years. She held other PTA executive board roles prior to that and chaired the Lincoln Walkathon for 9 years. She calls the walkathon her baby, and rightfully so. The hours she spent on it are surely in the thousands. Girl Scout guru. She co-led Girl Scout troops for 6 years at Lincoln and 3 years at BIS, organizing over 7 food drives. That is so many cookies and so many good deeds. Classroom champion. Ingrid was a room parent for all 3 of her children's classrooms. Astrid, Anders, and Annika, totaling 9 years as a room parent, sometimes for multiple classrooms a year. She brought art projects, led cooking activities, and she even repainted the lion mural after it was graffitied. She always brought something special to the kids' educational experience. 5th grade supermom. She was deeply involved in 5th grade promotion week committees and organized beautiful tile mosaics with 2 different classes that are still there to greet everyone at Lincoln's Gate today. Green Team pioneer. Ingrid created and led the Green Team, implementing greenware kits in classrooms. She ensured Lincoln and BIS had the right bins for recycling and composting, and she worked with student groups to empower them to raise awareness about recycling and composting. That is not all. She was also part of the beautification committee and the dandelion garden team, and also the library help. BIS powerhouse. After serving as the Lincoln PTA president, Ingrid went on to serve as the BIS PTA president for 4 years. She's been a mainstay at BIS for 9 years, right? Yeah. Leading the creative effort in the BIS Trojan Tourney with themes like Be a Gamer, helping advisories create life-size Mario Karts out of cardboard. Whenever you see Ingrid's name on Nextdoor or Buy Nothing Burlingame, you can be sure she's cooking up some creative activity for the students. She truly collected hundreds of boxes and crafted them into life-size Mario Karts. She co-led Staff Appreciation Week, organized staff bocce ball events, and rejuvenated the BIS garden. She's an event planning wizard, from international night to fundraisers to school dances to BCET parties. Ingrid orchestrated permission slips, decorations, school-wide activities, turning every single event into a magical experience for the students. She's a supportive force. Ingrid's knack for making everyone feel special is legendary. She ensured that teachers and staff felt appreciated. She organized thoughtful gifts and appreciation weeks, and she always made sure the community was well taken care of. Outdoor ed legend. And let's not forget, Ingrid organized outdoor ed for last year's 6th graders. That alone was a feat, getting 300 some people to outdoor ed. But here is such a great example of who Ingrid is and her dedication and generosity. Ingrid, who did not have a 6th grader, stepped in and chaperoned for a week when not enough 6th grade parents volunteered. The boys, when not enough 6th grade parents volunteered, Ingrid took a week away from her family and went on outdoor ed with students that were not hers. Ingrid's list of achievements is long enough to make anyone's head spin. But beyond the impressive list, it's her heart, her enthusiasm, and dedication that have truly made a difference. She's been the glue that holds so many people, so many students, events, and initiatives together. Ingrid, your tireless efforts and genuine care for our community is why we're here tonight to honor you with the H.J. Burns Award. It's a super small token of our immense gratitude. You've made our schools better and brighter and more fun. And for that, we can't thank you enough. Congratulations from all of us.
Congratulations, Ingrid, with you.
Board of Supervisors from San Mateo County.
Board of Supervisors from San Mateo County, the California State Senate, Josh Becker, California legislator, Diane Poppin.
We also have Michael Barber here from Dave Pine's office. Did you want to come up too? No? Okay, perfect. Yeah, Ingrid, can we get a picture of you with the board too? Is that okay? Can I say something?
I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank the school district because 12 years ago, we moved here from Switzerland and I didn't know anyone. And the school board and the school district kind of embraced me. I want to thank all the parents and teachers that I've got to know through all my volunteering. I want to thank my partners, because it's a team effort. It's always a team effort, and we all work together for the greater good. So I want to thank them. And I want a huge thank you to my family, because with my volunteering, they were very gracious in sharing me, because the many hours that I stepped away from my family, I came to you guys to kind of just have that experience of really being in the classroom and enjoying all the different things that we can do together as a team. So thank you.
And once a line, always a line.
All right, our next recognition begins our line of retirees. Principal Greg Land, do you mind coming up to honor Denise Fabris?
Oh dear. I'm just going to do it like this. Denise is an institution at BIS. That's something that I have to say right away. But she has a lot of hidden talents that need to be the spotlight needs to be shined on. And in our staff meeting today, we talked a little bit about them. She won the Busy Award, which is the BISY award. And during that time, we echoed a lot of important things. One of her teachers mentioned some of her amazing skills. The first one is, if you've ever had to do a master schedule and you've ever had to deal with a spreadsheet and you've ever had to deal with all these different things that go on, this woman is amazing at any kind of trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't and what's going to work and what doesn't. She's amazing at it. And she's helped a lot of people over the years with this. The best one is the scheduling for the Olympics. She really organized the Olympics over many years and needs to have a lot of credit, because if it wasn't for her, these events would not take place. Now, if you went to the last Olympics, the closing ceremonies, there was an amazing steeplechase race that the kids had to go through. And it was very complicated, and you had to run up and over and around and down and jump rope. And this woman created that and brought that together. And that's just a sample of what she's capable of doing at her best. But it's not just that. She also has coached for many years the robotics team at our school. And you guys saw as a board how they won, and they went to a competition and they took it. And her dedication to help that club over the year and over many years is just incredible. I don't know what BIS is going to do without her to help with that. And then great at woodworking, great at robotics, working, creating all these wonderful things in her maker space. She's really risen over the years to create these amazing things. And she will truly be missed at BIS. and her staff, all the staff knows it. We talked about it in the staff meeting today. And I've known you for a long time, Denise. You're going to be missed, but we know where to find you at Trader Joe's. So we're going to definitely go and hang out. Anyway, so Denise Fabris.
Okay, that's where I worked throughout college, so it's all good. Okay, Denise, on behalf of, this one is San Mateo County Board of Supervisors on retirement. Congratulations. This one is on behalf of, this is Josh. Yep, Diane Pappen, thank you. I had to look at that one real quick, and then I think we're not.
Thank you for everything you have done. Thank you for all your service. This is a demonstration of pure will to serve our community from the bottom of your heart. I think we need more people like you in this world. You represent not only the adults and all the people who are here to be professionals, but also you represent all the parents. You represent all the people who bring love to this community, and we appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
And then on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Burlingame School District, the Costa Bowl, the famous blue bowl when you retire. So thank you for everything and enjoy your retirement, and we look forward to seeing you at Trader Joe's. That's right. This back so that we don't. Yeah, why don't we hold retires? Next up, I have the honor of doing Principal Lisa Booth. Lisa, would you mind coming and sitting at our table, please? We need to make sure we get you on video. I think we were able to get Denise from the angle. Thank you, Principal Booth. Perfect. On March 8th, 2000, Dr. Sunny DeMardo, superintendent of the Burlingame School District at the time, received a letter of intent for principal of Franklin Elementary School, stating, being a teacher at heart, my creativity and emphasis on organization play out in my administrative tasks. The perfectly handwritten application attached further stated, 1, I have a vision and have spent the last few years focusing on my personal vision and its relationship to student achievement. 2, I'm organized and can manage many situations at the same time. And 3, I'm a good communicator. My door is always open to students and staff. 5 superintendents later, I think everyone would say those quotes still mirror who Dr. DeMardo hired 24 years ago. Principal Booth, who went on to serve as principal of Franklin for 15 years. And after many successful years at Franklin, Dr. Maggie McIsaac asked Principal Booth to spend a year planning to reopen Hoover for the following year. Principal Booth took on this task, just like her resume stated, with a vision in an organized, clearly communicated fashion. Of course, everyone saw firsthand how her creativity was woven throughout the administrative tasks that had to take place with reopening a neighborhood school. Principal Booth commanded the reopening with style and grace, no one knowing any of the hiccups along the way, except for maybe Richard up there. To this day, students jump out of their cars greeted with comments about sparkling shoes, fun backpacks, recent park adventures, unaware of the hours that Principal Booth and Greg have spent setting up Hoover mailboxes, umbrellas, and other magical items to ensure that creativity and learning have seamless lines interwoven throughout their educational journeys of being Hawks. What you might not know about Principal Booth is her love for neighborhood schools started at a 3-room schoolhouse on Palomas Road, where the mascot is a hawk, and she, along with her siblings, attended while growing up. Just like Hoover, Palermo School has the original cast iron bell that still adorns the campus and rings on special occasion. The summer months in Alameda County, little Lisa could be found at an Alameda County Fair enjoying corn dogs, hot pavements, and rackety sounding rides that of course ended with horse races with her family. I always look forward to getting my yearly text from Lisa saying that she's at the fair enjoying time with her family, still to this day a family tradition. Although Lisa attended and loves Santa Clara, her football heart still belongs to LSU due to her long love for her husband, Greg. And if you ever get to hear the stories about her best girlfriends and their traditions, consider yourself lucky. Lisa's deep passion and compassion are evident in her 3 children and in the way they all carry themselves throughout their school and life. Katie, I have another BSD application for you. Lisa, as you move into retirement, we know what you stated in your letter of intent 24 years ago. Being a teacher at heart, my creativity and emphasis on organizational play out in my administrative tasks. And that perfectly handwritten application further stated, I have a vision and have spent the last few years focusing on my personal vision and its relationship to student achievement. And 2, I'm organized and can manage many situations at the same time. 3, I'm a good communicator. My door is always open to parents, staff, and students. Still ring true today. We also know you're true to remembering who you are and where you've come from. We are all better because we have each been able to learn and grow beside you. Now it's time to let you relax, attend some more LSU games, watch some horses walk down Palermo Road, and catch opening day at the Alameda County Fair that is actually this Friday. Enjoy the time with your dad, your siblings, and your family.
Well, congratulations, Lisa. I used to be a big pest in elementary school and I ended up a lot of times at the principal's office. So the principal's office tends to have a negative connotation, especially associated to kids. But if it weren't for the principal, I don't think I would be where I am today. My principal was a champ. She took care of me. She listened to me just as much as my teachers did. So I wanted to give you recognition for that, for being a champ. And I think we all need a champ in our lives. And you are one of them. Thank you.
You want to hold up the certificate?
First, I have to say something. Since I announced my retirement, I have been celebrating, well, I have been experiencing many lasts, like my last staff meeting, my last recess duty, a lot of lasts, and some people might think that's sad, but I haven't looked at it that way. I've looked at them all as kind of like celebrations. And when they happen, I just kind of stop for a second and I think about what they meant to me. And to me, it's just a wonderful celebration and reminder of 24 years in this wonderful community, 37 years in education. It just is a reflection on such a great time in my life. And when I experienced my last day, on Thursday, my last promotion, my last day at Hoover, it's the people that I will miss the most. Everyone group back there, my Hoover girls, my family. The Franklin team and community that welcomed me, my administrative friends who are all here, the school board who have been so supportive to me and all the way throughout my career, and the community that all of you are a part of. it's just been such an amazing experience. I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. So thanks to all of you for making it what it is.
Curtis Smith, can you leave the booth and come down to the table, please? All right, our last retirement for the evening. If you know Curtis, then you know we are here today to celebrate his retirement after 32 years in the IT field. When he started his career, personal computers were just becoming mainstream and the internet was still just a dream. Director Smith worked for Burlingame for the past 8 years, helping to build out our technology infrastructure and the capabilities and aiding and flipping a 100-year-old craft of teaching from in-person in the classroom to in homes and virtual. Curtis is always our first call when something is not working or slow and the way that we think it should. He's always very patient with all of our non-IT staff, as we learned that getting new technology to work seamlessly is never easy, or the way that vendors seem to make it think that we think it should. If you really know Curtis, then you know some of his criticisms. Have you turned it off and turned it back on? When was the last time you updated your software? When was the last time you restarted it? This is what I found on Google. Where did I leave my water bottle? For all of our jokes with Curtis, if you really know Curtis, then you know without even asking him, one of his most proud moments in our districts are all the lives that he has saved. You might not know that Curtis bought a platform to our district that monitors student devices and anything they write. He actively works with site and district administrators along with Mental Health Collaborative to intervene and have the correct people meet with students and do or access welfare checks at their houses 7 days a week. Curtis is responsible for finding and initiating probably 90% of our risk assessments within the Burlingame School District. I can stand here tonight and say without a doubt that he has saved student lives and supported them in getting the help they need. Beyond being the watchdog to our students, he's also ensured each and every parent and guardian is able to access meetings in their native language. Curtis randomly reads newspapers and one day ran into my office and came and excitedly talking about Wordly. He knew he discovered yet another barrier that we could remove for all of our students and families. Curtis's innovative manner in which he's always thinking about how to better support our community will always be greatly missed. If you go looking for Curtis, you'll be able to find him in the middle of the Delta on his boat, surrounded by his 2 kids, 4 grandkids, and the love of his life, Jamie. Or at one of their games, fishing, or just playing pops. If nothing else, he'll be playing soccer with Wanda. Curtis, enjoy retirement.
Check. Congratulations, Curtis. I think sometimes we often overlook the engineers of our society and the people who make our society run. The same way sometimes we might overlook the people who are always around us and we don't give them enough recognition. So today is to recognize you for all those times that you were not recognized and to say thank you for everything that you have done for the school and for everyone here in making the school and everything run smoothly. Thank you very much, Curtis.
Lisa, but so well spoken. However, I want to thank the board, thank Marla, everyone, especially Omar. As I said, I will do that. But all said and done, I've really enjoyed the almost 9 years that I've spent here, the 30+ years I've spent with public education. It's been outstanding. I love serving the children here and the community. So that's really all I have. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's get Lisa Curtis and Denise up for a consent award.
Is it good now? 1, 2, 3. Let me get one more. 1, 2, 3, and I'll turn this way. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Now it's resolutions. Hold on, sorry, really quickly.
All right, we're going to take just a brief pause to adjust the sound. Yeah, screen down, please. All right, item 17, administration. We have the resolution 2023-24-35, recognition of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQ plus Pride Month, which is the month of June that we're in. And we have a student joining us, Amy Nascimento.
We have two, it looks like.
Oh, yeah, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Amy Nascimento. I'm Kylie Hamamura. Recognizing lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Whereas June is a time to celebrate our dynamic LGBTQ plus community, raise awareness of quality services, and foster a dialogue to promote a healthy, safe, and prosperous school climate and communities for all. And whereas more than 50 years have passed since the June 1969 Stonewall riots in New York City and the birth of an activist movement. And
whereas June is recognized and celebrated as LGBTQ plus Pride Month throughout the country and worldwide. Whereas California state law now addresses discrimination, harassment, intimidation, and bullying towards the LGBTQ plus youth. And Whereas there have been numerous studies indicating the inequities experienced by the LGBTQ+ community, including poverty, homelessness, school harassment, physical assault, domestic violence, hate crimes, mental health issues, and substance abuse concerns. And
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Burlingame School District Board of Education proclaim June as LGBTQ+ month to inspire equity, create alliances, and celebrate diversity, and establish safe environments in our schools and communities throughout the county. A pride flag will be flown at each school site for the entire month of June.
Thank you. And we are going to vote on this resolution, so we could have a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2023-24-35, recognition of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQ+ Pride Month.
I'll second.
Great. So we'll do the roll call vote. Trustee Mudd,
Yes.
Trustee Gulam Hussein, Trustee Wong,
Yes.
Trustee DeWoy,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. Motion carries 5-0. Next is 17B, Resolution 2324-36, recognizing Juneteenth, which is June 19th. And we have 3 students, make sure I have the right number this time. Yes, 3 students joining us. Clarence Cadence Cannon, Hannah Pubian, and Alia Weems. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cadence Cannon.
hi, I'm Aaliyah Weems.
Hi, I'm Hannah Pubian. Recognizing Juneteenth. Whereas June 19th is nationally recognized as Juneteenth, the oldest known American celebration of the ending of slavery. And whereas more than 2 years after Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas on June 19th to announce the Civil War had ended and the enslaved were now free. And whereas Juneteenth Day celebrations have since been held to commemorate African-American freedom from slavery, honoring this day more than 150 years later helps us learn our history and better understand the experiences of African-Americans that shaped this nation. And
Whereas the Burlingame School District BSD advocates for the continuance of the tradition of celebrating Juneteenth to acknowledge and condemn the atrocities and degradation of our shared past and honors this day of resilience in the face of injustice and inhumanity for present and future generations. And whereas the BSD acknowledges the historical relevance of the significant event and the generational trauma that accompanies being subject to racism, discrimination, and produces as a barrier to positive mental and physical health and well-being, economic opportunity, and academic achievement. And
whereas the BSD remains committed to improving self-equity and access to high equality education. Now therefore be resolved that the Burlingame State District recognize and honor June 19th as Juneteenth and remain committed to inspire equality, celebrate diversity, and establish a safe environment in our schools.
Thank you. Great. Can we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023/24-36, recognizing Juneteenth, June 19th.
I'll second.
Great.
It's a
Lisa,
yay.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and yes for me as well. Motion carries 5-0. All right, we're moving on to item 18, education. A is JEDI presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Burlingame community. Today we're going to do an update on our special education programming. We're going to start with introductions. I'm Christina Granillo, and I'm here today with Monica Darshini.
Hi, everybody. I'm Monica Darshini, the school psychologist for Burlingame. Okay, I'm starting. So I'm going to start this presentation with some words that we hear a lot and just some definitions. So child find, which is basically our ongoing obligation to actively identify, locate, and evaluate children with disability residing in our district boundaries. And that includes children not attending our schools. The next one is, we hear that there's a lot. FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education, which means that we are providing special education related services to students who qualify and at no cost to families in Burlingame. And then the next one is that we are providing the services in the least restrictive environment. That in no circumstances that the children are away from their general education peers, and if they are, then it's under a very severe under a severe nature that they need to be removed from their general education classroom and away from their peers. The next one is education placement continuum, which on the left-hand side, you'll see the general education, which is considered to be the least restrictive of educational placements. As we move over to the right, educational placements have less access to typical peers and considered more restrictive. When the IEP team considers a more restrictive placement for a student, they consider the least restrictive placement, or when we consider a more restrictive placement for a student, they consider the least restrictive placement, which we call the Holland factors, that the students' educational benefits from the placement in the regular classroom, the non-academic benefits of inclusion in general education, the student's effect on the teacher and other students in the classroom. So we have to keep all those things in mind when we are moving through the continuum. Next, we're gonna pass it out to Christina.
So before we get into kind of the nitty gritty of what we do here at BSD and supporting students with disabilities, we wanted to just reflect a little bit on what special ed is sometimes considered. It's sometimes considered a placement, a place to put students who do not fit the mold in a general education classroom, or who stand out in a general education classroom, or whom people, service providers, or I should say educators feel, can't be supported in the general education classroom. And that's not what we want. We want students in the general education classroom as much as possible, as often as possible, whenever as possible, whenever. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look into the system of supports that we have here at Burlingame to support students with disabilities, and how we are making progress to improving those system of supports, how we're filling those gaps as we work on improving them. We often find times we work and we improve and we find more problems. So just the ongoing practices that we're utilizing here as a team to make sure we are serving our students with disabilities. So as we saw with the slide that Monica went through, there is a continuum of supports that we have here with the least restrictive all the way to the most restrictive. That's that top row. If you look underneath that, that is how we support students, or what that support looks like, as well as the percentage of students we have at BSD who fall within that system or within that placement. So one of the great things about this slide that you can notice is that 90% of BSD students have most of their day in the general education classroom, or full day gen ed. Moving down, the next largest percent is our students with IEPs who receive support in small groups services, either push in or pull out, which is where a service provider will work with a student in a small group in a separate setting. The next slide is just some data and some numbers. The main takeaway from this, as you can see, is that while we did do a good job in decreasing the number of students who are receiving services under an IEP from 321 to last year, the number was 311. If you look at the overall trend going from 2013 all the way to where we are 10 years later, 2023, we are increasing in the number of students that we as a district are supporting. So what have we done to account for this overall trends? One of the things that we've done is we have increased our behavioral intervention supports. We've increased a BCBA position. We've also ensured that every school site has a full-time RSP teacher as well as a full-time RSP instructional aide. Another thing that we have done is we've also made sure to increase the number of behavioral instructional aides over the years from 16 to 23, or sorry, to 33, even better.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit more of me. The next slide shows our 5 highest or 5 most common eligibility. So in order to receive support through an IEP or individualized education plan, you do need to meet one of the federally defined eligibility criteria. In our district, the 5 most common ones are speech and language impairment, specific learning disability, other health impairment, autism, and emotional disturbance. And then overall, again, our numbers are tending to increase.
Okay, so I'll talk about some actual numbers here of assessments that was done across disciplines. You can see this, the psychologist, speech, occupational therapist, and then total. So this one is from 22-23 school year. The total was 258. And then the next slide would show us 23-24. Which is 367. So and this is as of last month. So we, as you can see, the assessment numbers have increased. We have assessed a little bit more, I've done the math, sorry, a little bit more students from last year than this year, or this year than last year, sorry.
However, with that increase in the number of students we are supporting, one positive thing for us is that we are remaining within that 9% bracket of students district-wide who receive special education services or support. So what that kind of tells us, we are assessing a significant number of students. However, the number of students that are qualifying tends to stay at an even rate. And again, that percentage is lower than the county percentage. So that's really great for us because that means that we are supporting students before they enter special ed. We're supporting them in their general education class through our tiered intervention approach. The next slide looks at comparing the students who receive services through special education, comparing them by race, and then looking at that and comparing them with the general BSD population by race. So ideally, you would want to see those even. They should mirror each other ideally, but we're seeing that they're not quite. However, what we are seeing is that some of the students who fall in our who we tend to, or who other districts or other counties, other states tend to over-identify, we are not doing that. So that's really great for us, specifically our Hispanic population. We're not over-identifying them, as well as our students who are ELLs. We're not over-identifying those, which is really great for our district. So again, we want to just celebrate when we look at the Hispanic ethnicity indicator. Again, ideally, you would want to see those graphs equal. However, when compared to state and compared to other counties, you would see typically a larger Hispanic than in the overall population, and we don't have that. We actually have a decrease, which is really good for us in the assessment work that we are doing. The next slide looks at maintenance of effort and expenses. So this focuses on our budget and how we are using our special education budgeting. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Marie De La Cruz, who's going to share a little bit more about the nitty-gritty of that.
Thank you. So every year, our SACS reports looks at how we spend our special education funding. There's a requirement, which is called this maintenance of effort, that we have to spend at least the same amount every year. So it compares the expenditures from year to year. And in 21-22 and 22-23, we did not pass our maintenance of effort. And in 23-24, we did. And I believe some of the reasons are the number of students that we served, as they mentioned in a couple of slides ago, went down in 22-23. For example, in 21-22, we served 321 students, and in 22-23, we served 311. So there was a reduction in services, and we also received COVID funds. So sometimes that also, if we're spending other funds for special ed, it affects our maintenance of effort. And transportation also during COVID was not as much as we normally would spend. So those were at least some of the reasons that I'm aware of why we may have not passed the maintenance of effort in those couple of years.
So last year, when the special education team presented to you guys, they did present a series or a list of goals that we wanted to work on and areas of focus that we wanted to have for the 23-24 school year. So I'm just going to go ahead and review some of the goals we were working on and kind of discuss how we've met those goals or which of those goals we want to continue on to the next year. So for the first part, we have focus on helping families access resources. We are going to continue this. We've worked really closely with Golden Gate Regional Center, who supports some of our below 3 students, working on building transitional programs with them so that as students age into our system under Child Find, which the age for that is 3 years old, that there is a smooth transition and that parents know who to access for support. One of the things we would like to do moving forward in continuing this goal is building up our CDAC community or Special Education District Advisory Committee. We in the past have had a really strong CDAC that's worked on putting programming in place to educate the families in our community, to bring resources to our community. And obviously, again, since COVID, things have changed and it's become a smaller and smaller program. We would really like to see that built back up in the upcoming years. And so that we can support our families in the Burlingame community. Also continuing with Child Find, we did meet this goal. We did assess a lot of students in under 3. Again, we worked really closely with Golden Gate Regional Center to make sure that that was a smooth transition for students as they aged into that system, into our system, but we want to continue to do that and build on that relationship. Expanding our behavioral services. We did touch on this a little bit earlier. We have expanded our behavior team to include more instructional aides, but additionally include an additional BCBA who's worked really closely with our classrooms to help with behavioral intervention services. And we've also worked on training our classroom staff on de-escalation strategies, which puts a little bit more power into them to build up their toolboxes in the area of behavior management, especially for our students who are showing very dysregulated behaviors, just giving them more support and tools to pull from. The next page, focusing on inclusion. Again, this is something we are refining and we will continue to work on in 24-25 school year. We've worked, I know BIS has worked really closely with SIP or supporting inclusive practices and professional development for their staff. And moving forward next year, we really want to expand that to our elementary schools and getting their feedback and building up their professional development in the area of inclusive practices. The next thing is we have had a lot of one of the goals was working on increasing math outcomes. We spent many years working on reading intervention and we've seen a lot of positive growth in that. But we also acknowledge we want to continue that also with math. So some of the things we've done is we've expanded co-taught math classes at BIS. We've offered Joe Bowler classes during summer curriculum as well as intersession. And we've also continued with iReady and illustrative math, continued professional development in those programs. As far as the goals that we want to work on for this next year, again, continuing to help families access resources in our community, continued focus on inclusion and supporting staff in the implementation of that process. Those are just some of the bullet points are just some of the ideas that we've come up with. But again, just really making sure that when students come into BSD, when families have students enroll in BSD, that we are supporting them with a wide system of supports. So again, family resources and working on building up our inclusive supports for our teachers and our staff. The next one is transition planning. These are some of the things that we want to work on increasing. Again, the transition starts in many levels. It starts when students age into us, either through preschool programming. There's transition periods from the elementary level to the middle school level. And then I know last month we had a wonderful presentation from Burlingame High School and in partnership with BIS and really supporting the students who have IEPs as they transition through the high school program. We want to set them up for success. So all of those are ways that we want to improve the transitional planning within our program. And last but not least, staff support. Our staff works very, very, very well in their fields, but it's hard. Education is hard. So we want to make sure that they're supported. And we want to make sure that as a district, we are giving them the professional development that they need. We're giving them the inner discipline support that they need. So these are some of the ways we've come up with that. Another reason we also want to increase staff support is we want staff retention. We want Burlingame to be a district that teachers who are highly qualified want to work at and want to stay when they come here. So, and that's another huge goal that we want to work on as a department in this next coming year. Some big takeaways. So observationally, what we're seeing is our assessments, the number that we're doing, it is increasing drastically. However, the number of students that we're qualifying continues to stay at an even trend. That actually is very good for us. We want to make sure we're not over-identifying students. So that's one really positive takeaway. Next is some of the solutions or thoughts that we have is we do want to increase family engagement. We want to encourage or we want to provide, more educational services within our schools. And we also want to continue our community partnerships. Those are huge areas of growth that we also want to keep working on in this upcoming year. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Yeah, I had a question. On slide 8, it showed the data. You mentioned how it's taken off since 2013, but it looks like it really took off in the year 2021, the total number of increase. Is there anything going on that you would attribute to that? Did we change the way we diagnose or the increase in TK or?
Yeah, I mean, those are actually all really great factors that are going to increase the number of assessments that we're doing. We did expand our pre-K programming. So again, those are going to be students that we're assessing, or it's a new population of students that we're going to be working with and assessing. COVID also did have a huge factor with no students weren't on campus in 2020, right? So for half of 2020 and the beginning half of 2021, students weren't on campus. So we weren't necessarily testing as many students as we want because students weren't, kind of right in front of us. So that was kind of a huge fault of COVID. Similarly, when we came back, then all of those students who we weren't identifying during COVID, we were it accounts for the huge jump that we had because we're trying to catch up, right? The COVID catch up.
And does that also relate to the increase in parent requested assessment, the return after COVID?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe that. I do think that as parents saw what their children were doing, maybe witnessed their learning in action, there was probably an increase in concerns. So that definitely would play into that. It would be a factor in that, yes.
I wanted to make a comment about the kind of pendulum swing that we've had in terms of the identification of certain student groups. And I know we've been dinged in the past about over-identification, particularly with our Hispanic student population. I do worry that maybe out of the fear of over-identifying, we are now under-identifying, and then now we're denying a kid who might have qualified for an IEP in K or 1, and we're only going to realize by 5th grade, 4th and 5th grade, when, the work gets so much harder and complicated. Then we see, oh, now the student qualifies when maybe the student might have qualified sooner. And the interventions could have been offered when they were younger. So I just want to put that out there because it is quite dramatic, the difference in proportion of the special ed population compared to our overall population. So just want to put that out there.
Any other questions?
Maria, I was wondering if you would be able to explain the MOE, like just a little bit about how we create a target for spending with our special ed population. So let me go back to the slide.
This slide, the maintenance of effort and expenses, that one?
Yep.
Yeah, so in our SACS coding, there's certain codes that is specifically for special ed. So it picks up all of the expenditures that we've coded in the special ed category. And it compares it to previous year's expenditures because you're expected to spend at least or more every year.
Right.
So.
But does our population in general of special ed students, do we have a number that just aside from the previous years, do we know about what we should be spending on special ed services? And then we're coming up with.
Yeah, maybe I can answer that. So it fluctuates based on the individual population. You might have a student that's at a residential treatment facility one year that's $14,000 a month, and that student might graduate and go on to the high school the next year. So you can't really necessarily target saying this is what we should average spend on a population because it's really dependent on the individuals that you have that year within your district. So you receive your funding in, but we don't necessarily have a target amount that we're setting. So the MOE and the maintenance of effort is you have to spend at least what you spent last year. If you don't spend that, we have to justify why. So our whys would be in our narrative saying that we had a student that graduated and left, or like Marie said, during COVID, we weren't transporting students on buses. So that was a huge savings to a district. If you have a reduction of force. So if for some reason there was one year, if you look back historically, where we didn't have as many speech students, so you didn't need as many speech therapists. Right now we have a 0.5 APE. We don't have as many students accessing APE. So those types of things is when you would have an MOE. So you have to prove to the community and really like state and federal funding, why you don't need as much money. Because what they want to see is that you're not trying to not give students that are receiving special education funding what they deserve. Because we have to remember a special education student is a general ed student first. So they get everything that general ed gets, and then they get services on top.
So in this case, it just means that we weren't able to explain why.
When we fail, it means that
we couldn't justify that.
No, that we spent less. We spent less. So we had maybe high cost kids that left, or the transportation or things like that. Right, that number right there is projected. So we're projected to spend $1.1 million more this year than we spent last year on special ed.
Okay.
I guess the point is that it says fail, but you might actually have a rash.
Cost savings. We had a cost savings in those years within special education, but we have to justify why we didn't spend as much in special ed during that fiscal year.
Okay.
I know it feels a little bit backwards.
It does.
But they watch us very closely on special ed funding because they want to make sure that we're not trying to save money by not servicing our students as well.
Okay.
Good. Any more questions? Great. Thank you, Christina and Monica. Appreciate it. Right, we have item 18B, which is the bell schedule. And I believe we have a public comment on this one before the presentation, so I'll invite Elizabeth Kendall to speak.
Hello. Hi. So yeah, my name is Elizabeth Kendall. I'm wrapping up my first year teaching at BIS in 8th grade science. And I've also been a parent in the district for 12 years. And I currently have a child in 7th grade at BIS. It's been so meaningful to work in my community and teach kids that I've known since they were preschoolers. I'm very much going to miss this 8th grade class. I'm also very impressed with the dedication, commitment, and kindness that I see in the BSD staff, and I'm grateful for the welcoming place of employment. However, I'm here tonight because I'd like to share my thoughts on the BIS bell schedule. To cut to the chase, my opinion is that longer class periods and smaller classes are needed to properly educate our kids in science. In my experience this year, it has been difficult to complete an activity and draw meaningful conclusions within the 44, 41, or 36-minute class periods we have each week. In my ideal class period, I'll give a brief introduction at the beginning to the topic of the day or review, and then students carry out an activity to explore and learn together. Then we come back together as a class and we discuss our observations. With the short class periods, I often need to choose whether to rush the students and get to the conclusions during the class period or hold off till the next day when the material is no longer fresh in the students' minds. So coupled with the large class sizes, it's been challenging to provide the differentiation which is needed to instill a love of science in all students. Note that science is the only core subject with no co-taught classes or dedicated support classes. So for some kids, science is their only general education class. While I love having all the kids together in the same class, it's challenging to meet the various needs of each student with very short class periods and very large class sizes. The schedule proposed for next year has 2 days of classes with 47 minutes, 2 days of 45 minutes, and 1 day of 36 minutes. While this is a modest improvement over the current schedule, in my opinion, the classes should be closer to an hour to allow enough time to fully carry out science activities. I've looked at the bell schedules of the surrounding middle schools in the county and did not find any schools with such short class periods every day. The longer class length at other schools is accomplished in a variety of creative methods, ranging from block periods to on 2 days to only 6 periods during the school day plus a 0 period, to a floating 7th period schedule where 6 of the periods meet during each day. And that's the schedule I had at the school I was at last year. Note that these schedules mentioned do contain 7 periods, so we can keep our electives. No schedule is perfect, and I know there's a range of competing needs in the school. However, I encourage our district to consider lengthening our class periods and reducing our science class sizes. If not for the upcoming school year, then for the year after. Even lengthening the class periods or reducing the class sizes would be of benefit. But short periods coupled with large class sizes, in my opinion, makes it very challenging to carry out productive science classes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
All right, Principal Land, I think you're presenting.
So, can you hear me? Okay. I don't know if you have a presentation, but I'm going to use what I have here. So, if you look at what we're proposing, came from a variety of things. When talking to our different community members, our students, our teachers, our staff, our parents, it really is apparent that we need to make some changes. As you heard Dr. Kendall talk, we need more time for certain things, and how are we going to do it? Basically, a bell schedule, instructional minutes are what's important to us, but that can be competing interests, and that's something we need to take into account. Do we want to have electives? Do we want to have a variety of electives? Do we want to have just one elective? What are we offering? Academically, what classes are really going to have to be priority? Like, how much time do we need to do a math class in its entirety? How much do we need for an English or a humanities class? And as you heard from Dr. Kendall, a science class when you're doing experiments, and how would that work? So you're having a competing interest to find out what the priorities are. So what I did over this year was take some information and consult and do surveys and have advisory groups and have coffees to find out what was the priority for the school. Now, as I heard, as Dr. Kendall said, I also went into all the areas and different school districts around the area to find out what was working and what wasn't, and what was their priorities. And also got feedback from our teachers of what was going to work and what was not going to work. There's no one right answer, but we need to keep experimenting and really make a priority to what was important. So in the end, the conclusion was to start somewhere and to start to increase minutes for our school. And so if you look at the two attachments, you'll see that in the instructional minutes over the years, in 2023-24, we had a total of 55,369 minutes. In 2022-23, we had 55,982. And in 21-22, we had 56,470. In each of those cases, so over the last 3 years, we've declined in instructional minutes. I think that was a mistake. And in talking with teachers, in talking with students, in talking with parents, I think we needed to make a shift. As Dr. Kendall said, we really need to make a priority for instructional minutes in a certain way. In fact, this is good, but not good enough. But it is definitely a start, and it's trying to look at what would work for our school. Overall, if you know the instructional minutes required by the state is 54,000. So my proposal is going to increase our minutes by 2,333 minutes over this year. In looking at the bell schedule, these are the things that we're making changes. And again, it's making priorities. We have to decide what's important, and we have to make some shifts. Currently, with the current schedule, we are going to make the following changes. First, we're going to increase the instructional minutes for each period, as you heard, maybe just by a few minutes in some cases, but we're making it so that we are getting towards where we need to be. We're going to be eliminating Trojan time. That takes away something. Again, a lot of parents and students really liked it, but then also a lot of parents, teachers, and students said it isn't good enough for them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Before I would propose coming back to that, I would want to refine the system to bring it back if that's a priority for our school. So my proposition was to eliminate so we can increase time for instructional minutes, as what was talked about. I also met with the students 3-minute passing periods are very difficult to go from one side of the school to the other. We have a very large school. We also have a very large hill. And so in talking to 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade students, they really do find having a problem getting from class to class. So my suggestion was to increase passing periods by 1 minute. The last one was something that I had a really hard time with because I really truly believe, and you heard it today with Jessica Yen, making connections in advisory, making connections in your class is critical. And so our advisory class helps do that. We did that this year with the Olympics and connecting. I want to continue that in the future. But what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the time to be more efficient. Again, lending more time to the instructional minutes. Some of the rationale I talked about with the student voice and also parent voice. They're interested in keeping the electives and the diversity for the school. Middle schools, the most important thing for middle school is giving those students voice and choice in what they want to do. They want to learn different things. And I want to see those kind of electives and choices as a part because that gets them excited for the school and engages them. But by the same token, both math and science classes really have to need more time to complete what they're doing. In math lessons, the current curriculum, the IM, are set for 45 minutes. For having our schools trying to even try, our classrooms try to make that happen in the 44 and the 41 and the 36, it's really next to impossible. So trying to meet the math needs, that was where we were trying to go for. As you heard in science lessons need to be conducted in labs that cost or take at least 60 minutes. That includes setup and cleanup. These are things that we have to try to do. Now, my rationale is to head in the right direction, to increase. It's a start, but I think we need to get people on board to be able to say, hey, this is where we're going and we're going to keep going. My proposal in the future would be to consider or reconsider what was happening in 2009 and 10 or 11, where we were using a mixed block schedule, because that would really help more than one department. Again, all teachers aren't the same. They're not created equal on that sense of what's important. Some people feel like this is enough. Some people feel like they need more. I need to persuade certain departments that these things are important. Obviously, you heard from from Dr. Kendall that science needs to have at least 60 minutes. How do we create that? So having all things considered, the Bell schedule, it is hard to differentiate and say, okay, one department is going to have a 60-minute and one's going to have a 45-minute. We have to figure out ways to do that. And there are some interesting ways. But again, in 1 year, I didn't think I could do this. But with community input and having the interest of all people involved, I think this is the best schedule to do for next year. And it will be a great start to increase our instructional minutes to help our students in the classrooms and really complete what they need to complete through this Bell schedule. So I'm open to taking any questions.
Yeah. Any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure where to begin with this, but I think maybe the best place to start is that I've been on the board for 3 years, and every year someone has come to the board meeting and said, we need to go back to a block schedule. We're not able to provide the instruction that needs to be provided to our kids. We can't get through the curriculum. And every year it's, we should do that. It's not this year though. We should look at it next year. We should talk about it a little bit more. We got to get the stakeholders. And in last year, the response back to the teachers was, well, there's a leadership change and let's let everybody get settled and we don't want to put it on the new principal. And I think at the end of the day, we should not be on the slow path to change. We recognize there's a problem. We're hearing from teachers at board meetings, at back to school nights. They're transparently saying we cannot get through the curriculum. The minutes are not there. At the adoption that I was on in math, for illustrative math, the recommended period was 90 minutes. I don't know what it was for Amplify. I wasn't on that committee, but Dr. Silversmith, you might be able to provide some information on that. I just think we owe it to our kids to not be so slow in making these changes. And I also believe that our teachers are agile enough to be flexible and put forward change. And many of them have already done this. I can say as a parent, with seventh graders that I know that they're not going to be able to finish the math, illustrative math. And concurrently, we have parents who are reaching out to us and saying, we want sophomore math here. We want geometry. We can't even get through the curriculum that we have. It's just, we can't even entertain that until we can say we're providing these kids the strong education and foundation that they deserve. I super appreciate that you were so diligent about having conversations with the teachers all year, and a survey and meeting with the students. But I think, like, you have that information, we have that information. I'd love to see it if it could ever go into one of Dr. Silversmith's weekly updates. I think we can make this change. I don't think we have to every year have this conversation. Does this need to be voted on tonight? Can this be an ongoing discussion? Because I don't feel comfortable with this plan.
By ed code, instructional minutes and bell schedules have to be in by the first day of school.
By the first day of school. So we don't have to vote on this tonight.
No.
There could be a conversation ongoing.
It went, this year's went in August.
In my ideal world,
we need the start and end times for parents, for CM's, for everything else, right? What
in my ideal world, what happens is we take this information, we take this all back to the, cabinet level, and you guys are making this decision with all of the stakeholders' input, but it happens at the district and leadership level, and then it's rolled out.
Can I ask?
Remembering that our kids are why we're here.
Can I ask a question? Are you proposing a mixed block schedule? Is that what you're asking
I'm
for?
proposing that we take us, like Elizabeth mentioned, that her former school has a rotating, so they don't have
So
to
we
get like
can't
of
do that
electives.
because we have two part-time. So this is something that's a little bit more complex because I agree with you. In fact, I wish we could adopt my old school's mixed block schedule. Now, if we chose to do a rotating schedule like Ralston, we would lose elective time. And if that's what the priority is, I'm fine with that. But it's a rotating schedule and we have two part-time teachers. So we couldn't put that into the schedule because it's rotating 7 periods. So you have 6 periods a day, not 7, which is why you increase. So instead of 7 periods a day, you'd have 6 periods a day. Crocker has 6 periods a day, but they have 2 electives, but their time is halved. So really foreign language and band would be cut in half in instructional minutes. So we wouldn't really be able to have like a true foreign language class, and we couldn't have a true band class. I hear what you're saying. I really do, because I agree with you. I think we need longer minutes and instructional minutes to really make things work. But we have to, again, what's the priority and understanding the priority? We looked at a lot of schedules. We looked at Cunha, we looked at Ralston, we looked at Block, where I'm from. We looked at Crocker. All of these have positives and negatives. And so it is a trade-off. And we did look at all these things. The problem is, if you're going to a block schedule, some departments are going to love it because they can handle it. Some departments are going to have a hard time and struggle, and we have to figure out how to make that work. That's where it's not all the teachers are not of the same mind. Certain departments want a block schedule and have that 90 minutes, have that 60 minutes, have that 75 minutes, because all of those are options. And they're great options because you can do so much in that time. And there's certain departments that would be excellent for that. But how do we make it work for some of the departments that need to struggle, and we need to give them kind of input and help them. So I get what you're saying. I agree. I mean, I would love to see a radical change, but it would have to take time to make that happen in 1 more year, I would think. So that's my personal opinion. But again, I'm open to change. I actually love a block schedule, but it's going to be, it'll be some work.
But I think our teachers are agile enough to do that. And I don't think that we can justify 40 minutes of math. So I would like to continue the conversation.
Do we have any other thoughts from the trustees?
Yeah, I have thoughts. The recommendation on the agenda says that we approve this. Am I correct in assuming that recommendation, Marla, is from you?
The recommendation came up through educational services through all of us. I think it's open to discussion. I think if there's questions, we can absolutely continue to look at it though too. There is time. Trustee Mudd's questions and conversations, to be transparent, it was pulled this time last year. And was looked at over the summer and was redone in August. So if it is something for us to go back and look into further in a little bit more detail, that is something that we can continue to do.
I mean, I'm so Lisa, maybe you could educate me a little because I don't have the middle school experience that you do. What is it exactly you would like to see?
Longer instructional minutes in the core subjects.
In which subjects?
So reading or ELA, math, science, history.
All.
The four cores, that's what we consider core.
Okay. I mean, my general inclination is I'm inclined to go with the principal since he spent a year there and he knows the school better. And I think perhaps a compromise could be, Principal Lang, you spoke about your vision in the future. Perhaps instead of a 1-year plan for next year, we could hear more details about where you see this going in the future. I know, as you said, you have personalities you have to work with and everyone has different needs. Would that be something possible? Would that be something you'd be interested in? That we could adopt this as is with the idea of seeing more into year 2 and year 3, kind of like a budget proposal? No?
I would vote no. I feel like this comes to the board every year and we don't listen.
Okay, I mean, I haven't been here as long as you. I don't feel the same way. I don't feel like seeing that just because it's his first year designing it. But I understand exactly what you're saying and the needs you want.
I think the goal here is to make an informed decision as to this bell schedule, right? And it seems like there are pieces missing in the sense that clearly the work has been done among various stakeholders and constituents. So it might be that come August, we adopt exactly this thing as it's presented, but the difference will be that the board and everybody else has the same information and is like up to speed. So maybe that's the issue, right? Because we are asking questions about like, did you do this? Does block schedule work? And I don't think I don't have also that level of information. So if we've done it and if we've done the work, maybe it's like us going back and being educated and seeing, okay, maybe there's a reason it doesn't work and we have to stick with it. So I think maybe it's just education, not knowing. Maybe we adopt the same thing in August, or maybe we don't. But like as fiduciaries, we also have to have that information in order to act on it.
I think
And
that's
where
also
the
one of the
disconnect
questions
is.
that Trustee DeVoy asked me, like, have I looked at it? Trustee Mudd asked me about amplify minutes. And I mean, there's information that I need to provide for you that I can't give you off the top of my head. So, I mean, if Trustee Land, if Principal Land.
I'm still a
gives me-
trustee too, but not here.
Principal Land gives me his surveys and his information that he did from the school site, from the educational partners of the school site, like student feedback and information from that. I can pull, because I sat on all the curriculum adoptions, having been the assistant superintendent. So I can pull illustrative math and how many minutes they told us to give 6 through 8. I can pull the information from Amplify, from our ELA, from our SL, all of our adoptions, and I can give you all of that information. I can also pull from the meetings we had with our 6th, 7th science core, which was a concern that we had last year when I went and met with them about how many people are doing experiments and all of that, to see how many experiments have been done with the minutes and get that information. So maybe part of it is Trustee Mudd, you being able to, like Trustee Ghulam Hussain is saying, have that complete picture to be able to make a better educated decision.
Yep.
And I had not anticipated talking about this with the block schedule, but it has a different impact on different departments. You're thinking in isolation with science and math. But if you look at humanities, we still have humanities blocks for a lot of the teachers. If you take 75 minutes, that's 140 minutes they're going to be with the same teacher for language arts and the humanities block. We do a humanities block already to allow for that time to have more instructional time that they can choose. So humanities teachers who are doing, 6th grade and 7th grade, they have a broader time to be able to do stuff. So now you're going to double their time and have even more instructional minutes, which may have more detriment than positives. So, I mean, but now that we've done the 8th grade change, it's actually really good for the 8th grade because you have an English now block and you have, so there is definitely some factors you have to take into account. The other one is PE. You're going to increase PE to be a much larger time as a point of the block. So how would you handle it? At my school, what we did was we created that and divided the block into 2 parts where the PE department basically taught health for one part of half of the period and then go out for regular PE with the unit. So these are all factors you have to take into account to really look at everybody, because I know what you're saying and I agree with you 100%. More instructional minutes for the core instructional, for the core subjects are important, but we've already tried to do that with humanities by blocking it together. So we might have to consider that there's more factors involved if you're going to adopt that mixed block schedule. And that's something we need to look at. So these are things that I'm totally capable of wanting to talk to you about and really moving towards. But again, if you do that right away, you're having strong impact on departments we haven't decided how things are going to work out for them. And so that's the only reason why I'm going to be very candid with you. We're in agreement, by the way. I want the mixed block schedule, but I couldn't make that step too quickly without really making some real judicious decisions on what's going to happen with certain subjects. And those are and what I just presented is the one's concerns that I have. So we're in the same spirit. I mean, I know where you're coming from and I agree. And it's, again, priorities. What's important for us? Do we sacrifice electives and make some shifts for that? Do we eliminate Trojan time? I had to make that decision because I agree with you that instructional minutes are got to be the priority because learning is critical. So again, I made a choice here to do transition, to try to really convince that, hey, we need more and how are we going to do it? And I would like to take the time to talk about what that would look like. If we did a mixed block schedule, what would that look like? If we did a rotating schedule, what would that look like? Because those are 2 very different programs and some people might one and the other. And we actually presented it and some liked one more than the other and it didn't get, a lot of feedback when we did it. And I want you to come and see, we did a lot of Post-its and stuff and talked about it and said, why is it good? Why is it not? So I'm more than happy to share the work that I've done with the staff and with the community. I'm willing to go in a direction with this. This is important to me because instructional minutes are important for them and increasing them are important. And I think it's a little and not all, but
I have some concerns about making big changes over the summer when a lot of the teachers and stakeholders are not around to weigh in. I mean, I am not opposed at all to holding this and approving it in August. With whatever changes are agreed and getting educated. I have no issue with that. I just want to defer to Principal Land and Marla about, what kind of changes can be made over summer period when not everyone's around to weigh in after they've already gone through a process. So, and I don't know nearly as much about where this should land. So I'm just trying to, that's my one concern. I agree, more minutes on core classes. I mean, it sounds like a good thing to me. I see my daughter's schedule and it's, there's a lot of moving around and sounds like we're taking steps in that direction. But and I'm kind of hearing that we have maybe some consensus that we don't pass this tonight, that we pull it and revisit in whatever form it comes back. I guess in August, would that be
correct?
Okay.
And what would the goal be to bring it back? What are we hoping to see if we can't do radical changes and we're not going to implement something new in August?
I mean, I'm hearing that just a little more education about the process and the alternatives, whether it can be changed now or not, or tweaked or whatever, that we're not at this point all comfortable with approving it based on what we have. And we can certainly take a vote on it. I mean, we don't have to have consensus on, on all issues.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one idea, and this wouldn't go directly to your concerns, but we could ask the BIS principal to present this sooner in the academic year, next year. So we could develop it over the course of the school year, give him the first semester to see how things are going, come back in January, or I'm just throwing stuff out. And then that way, if we pull it in to table it to another meeting, we still have time to get input from teachers and staff. But that doesn't go directly to your concern, and I acknowledge your concern for this year.
And I would appreciate the extra information, even the exploration of what other school districts are doing to manage it with their schedules or manage their schedules.
Does anyone object to that approach?
Just wanted to hear from Marla, will that prejudice the school in any way, or in terms of how we do things? I'm fine.
As long as we have the start and finish times, we'll be fine. We just have to get it, that has to be, obviously, it's important for Sam's Trans and everything else. We have to get that done. And then for our parents, for the bell start and finish times. Excuse me. And then, we can start to compile all the information and bring it back in August. The second thing I heard, trustee Boy, that we can do too is bring instructional minutes and bell schedules to you earlier, January, February time. Next year, which we can also work on doing. And to help so that if something is, sorry, it's a tickle all of a sudden.
I feel like you're very emotional.
I know, I'm getting very perplexed. No, but if, that way, if there are questions that we can get to them quicker, and we can also do a little bit more, due diligence on explaining our processes and attaching that information too. But we can get all of that to you for August.
And I asked for a little guidance. Are you, because again, what's really important is start and end times. Are we flexible on, do you want those changed as well, start and end times, or do you want to keep those finite?
That's not
Because
what
that was a challenge.
Yeah, I'm hearing the 8:40 to 3:10 is, well, I can tell you that we've already given it to Sam's Trans, so that's not changing.
And I think it works for our families too that have kids at multiple sites. So I think we work within those parameters.
Again, with that has ramifications, because then a mixed block schedule will have some variations that you'll have to take into account. So again, there are multiple moving pieces. I'm not opposed to this, but I've already tried to practice like applying things like what would it look like. There were some ideas where we were increasing minutes even more, and it was ending at a later date, or we were starting earlier, and that became a problem. So these are some of the issues that will come up when you start. And again, like talking about the rotation, if we reduce to 6 periods, then how does that work with a part-time person? How does that work with music? How does that work with, so there are definitely some factors that have an impact that I don't think you guys realize when we have to shift to a completely different bell schedule. I'm not opposed to it, but trust me, it's a puzzle that is it's a Tetris is what it is. It's putting things together and changing it around so that it works. So these are just some factors that I want you to be aware of when we talk about this. So yeah, but I'm open.
I know you, and I appreciate that you understand where I'm coming from.
Yep.
It seems like, I mean, it is a Tetris. I guess the point though is that even just talking to you for 15 minutes, all of this information has come out, which enables the board to, digest and make a decision. So I'm not even sure if, like Marla, in August, does it have to be a board meeting? It sounds like we just need to communicate and understand the process that was undertaken and say like, oh, did you think about this? Does that work? And understand it, and then feel better about making a decision one way or the other. Like, that's what I think is missing. It's not necessarily that it needs to be this or that. It's just that we need to be more in communication in terms of understanding how this.
I'd be more than happy to say things.
There still has to be board approval.
Right, I guess eventually, but in the interim period, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, I don't want this to just show up in August and then we do this dialogue again, right? So what's the bridge? Is there just some education that can be had amongst us?
Yes, however, there's no board meeting between now and August.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha.
there's 2 specials that will happen, the 18th and So there will be another one, August 8th was our next one. And we have to approve before August, the first start of school.
But we could receive the information in advance of the August meeting so that we're well prepared to.
Absolutely. And then there would be a recommendation that we could, I mean, the elementary ones were on consent tonight because there was no change. It was very status quo. So it was just something that,
Yeah.
But when there's a change, we do it in open for discussion.
And again, I brought this to you because I wanted change. I get where you're coming from. I wasn't satisfied with what we were doing. In fact, I felt like this was not something that was good for our kids. And so I really made the effort, and this is where I landed. It's not the perfect landing, but it gets in the direction where I want to go. And so that's where we're at today.
Okay, well, I think is everyone comfortable with that approach? So why don't we have a motion to, Lisa, do you want to make a motion to basically table this?
To August? What's the motion?
Or I think we would like to not vote on this bell schedule and bring this item back in August, potentially with changes or not, and vote at that time, at that meeting.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to move item 18B off the agenda this evening for further discussion and move it to the August.
Maybe it's to direct the superintendent to collect more information and.
To direct the superintendent to collect more information, share that out with the board throughout the summer and come back in August for a vote.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. 5-0. All right, next we moved the wellness policy off consent. We'll take that now, and which is item. Is it
18.
no public comment?
No, he submitted a public comment in writing. We're just gonna.
Oh, right. That's great. Okay, so we're doing the wellness policy, which we removed from consent. We did receive a public comment with respect to adding the position in charge of implementing the policy, and I think we were proposing to make a change in part based on that comment. That was a good comment. We need to add who is responsible for implementing the policy. And we propose approving the policy with the change that this is by position, not by name. Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services with the phone number 650-259-3800. And then the second or the backup Chief Business Officer with the same phone number, general number 650-259-3800, and the contact email being info@burlingameschools.org. We would like to add that to the wellness policy and vote with that change or take any discussion. No discussion. Okay, great. Well, I'll move to approve the wellness policy with that change.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye, 5-0. Great. Moving on to item 18C. This is the public hearing for our LCAP for 24-25.
Open the hearing.
Oh, and I would like to open the hearing. And we will accept any comments.
There were none, President Brown.
Okay, I'll close the hearing. And we'll move on to item 18D, which is our local control accountability plan for 2024 through 2027. And this one.
All right. No, Principal Paveo will be presenting briefly tonight on this. With no blank slides.
No, all blank slides. Thank you, everybody. I need to acknowledge that most of the heavy lifting was done by Assistant Superintendent Tang and Nate Wong. So I'll be presenting the work, but I just recently got this involved with the work. And I was also told, keep it quick. So I will keep it quick. So the LCAP plan is done every 3 years, and this is the first year of that plan. In order to do that, many tasks go into this. First, for sure, is just the general information and the annual performance of the district, which again has been presented many times. We're doing very well in English language arts and mathematics. All students are 58.6 above the standard. All students are 50 in English language arts and 51.5 points above the standard in mathematics. So then we look at where we are not doing as well. And so then that will drive the LCAP plan. Most of the well, what we're looking at is socioeconomically disadvantaged, Hispanic, and your current English and language arts students. So English learners, I'm sorry, which are all below the standard. Also, BSD is in the red on the California dashboard indicators for chronic absenteeism, and schools Lincoln and Washington were also in the red. We also then, so after looking at all the data, then we engage all our partners. We talked to the LCAP committee, which was formed several times during the year with Assistant Superintendent Tang, did many things in the process, looked at the old LCAP plan, tossed around ideas, and then had a thought exchange around that. We also had talked to BSD students who completed a thought exchange as well. I think this is probably the first time we've done that with an LCAP plan. Parents and families were also engaged. Staff and certificated classified were again through a thought exchange survey. We also talked to our partners in the San Mateo County Office of Education, who gave us the driver of chronic absenteeism. The Math and Science Committee provided feedback on math and science, and parents of underrepresented groups were also through our family coordinator, who reached out and made sure that all of our underrepresented groups had a voice in this plan. A lot of using the thought exchange, principals and administrators met at the our principal meeting and talked about it. We also did a thought exchange as well. And then the district advisory committee, which is made of parent, staff, site administrators, and community members, they analyzed the thought exchange. They aligned and then talked about aligning all the SIPSs, the site plans that principals do with these goals. So to get there, we've now gotten to the goals to fast forward this 100-page document. Our goals, the 4 goals that will be in our LCAP in the next 3 years, each grade level cohort of students in the BSD will receive high quality grade level academic instruction along appropriate behavioral and social emotional support designed to meet the needs in an inclusive and supportive environment through the implementing of the multi-tiered systems of support framework. And then again, attendance, absenteeism, suspensions, expulsion, and academic performance will all be used as indicators of the progress. So again, setting up a multi-tiered system of support will be front and center for our school district. Goal number 2, in the next 3 years, there will be a focus on specific target students, foster unhoused English learners, Hispanic, Latinx, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. There are several goals underneath this one to make sure that we are really finding our unduplicated performance, make sure that they are rising. Goal 3, increase in academic achievement with students with disabilities in English language arts and mathematics, with the goal of increasing the percentage of students with disabilities performing at or above standard by at least 10% annually. And again, this is a 3-year plan. And then finally, our 4th goal, in the next 3 years, students, staff, and family engagement and connectedness to the school will improve through deliberate efforts to create a culturally responsive environment that is socially, emotionally, and physically safe as measured by behavior data and the California Healthy Kids Survey. Again, so we have, in looking at the plan, we've set up definitely systems of academic excellence with our multi-tiered system of support, reaching out to our students that are sorry, I'm missing the term, are unduplicated students, and making sure that everyone is also, there's a socially emotional goal in there. So we've really reached the committee and Assistant Superintendent Tang and Nate Wong, who also should get a lot of credit for writing up this, really thought deeply about the whole district. So the plan is now, the first draft has been complete and sent to the county for review, who sent us back 25 pages of things to change, which we have now changed and sent that back. So that's where it's at. And actually 25 pages is a low number when we heard a couple other districts were in the 30s. So they did pretty good job.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Do we have any questions on the draft LCAP?
If we saw like edits and things, should we send them to you? Yeah.
Please send them my way.
For sure.
Send them Matt's way.
Is this the most, you have the most recent version though?
I don't think I do. I have I noticed in one of them, for instance, that it's talking about the special ed department, but in the explanation, it's
It's not.
discussing multilingual learners instead.
That would, send that one up.
I would just want to say one thing. There's a line in there that I just loved. Embracing these results as a call to action signifies our dedication to continuous improvement and willingness to adapt and refine our practices. I liked that.
That's good. I didn't write it. It's good.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. You're welcome, everybody.
All right, we're gonna move on to item 19A, which is the letter from the county. And Marie, you're gonna speak to this.
Yes, so we submitted our second interim report a couple months ago and we received a letter of review from the county dated May 15. And what we submitted was a positive certification. The county concurred with our certification. They pointed out a couple of areas in terms of how we need to watch our reserves and our projections in the next couple of years. At the time, we were looking at a deficit of about 2.4 million next year and 1.3. When we go over the proposed adopted budget, we'll talk about how we were able to resolve that temporarily. But we still do have to address our structural deficit. And they talked about the governor's May revise, which I'll also update you on in a little bit. And they've included some charts that shows us some history about our ADA to enrollment ratio.
Can you open the charts?
Which is really nice, you know, that they do this for the districts in the county. Some really good historical information, so you can kind of see the trend of the district and in ADA enrollment, as well as the salaries and benefits and how that compares to total expenditures, because I know that's always something of interest. So here are the charts. One of them is the ADA versus enrollment. So this shows how our ADA to enrollment ratio has been around 96%. The times that you see that they're over 100%, those were during the times when the governor gave us some relief because of our COVID, where we were allowed to use our 1920 attendance for a couple of years. And then the salaries and benefit percent to expenditures, it ranges from 73% all the way up to 86%. And that fluctuates depending on, you know, what the total expenditures are in the district. And sometimes we get one-time money, so it increases our total expenditure. So then it impacts, you know, that ratio of salaries and benefits. And then this shows that bottom one is the ending fund balance versus cash balance. They're not the same. I think it's what they're trying to show, because sometimes there's a little confusion that cash balance is equal to our ending fund balance, but they're very different. Cash is very important, and it's important that we maintain cash balance in order for us to, pay our bills and pay payroll. So our cash balance has been doing really well in the last few years. You can see that it's actually exceeding our ending fund balance. And our available reserves is another slide that they show us. You could see in the out years, 24, 25, what was projected is that our reserves were going to be depleted because of our deficit spending. But over the years, I think the district has maintained reserves at a very high level. Any
Thank you.
questions?
No, thank you. Right, that was an information item. 19B, also Marie, update on the governor's May revise to the budget, state budget.
Yeah, so every year the budget, the governor presents a May revise around May 10th. And it's an update to his January proposal. So at the May revise, they talked about the deficit that the state is facing. It's in the billions, almost $28 billion for next year and the following year, and also in the current year. And the current year deficit has to do with last year's tax collections that didn't come in as they had projected. Luckily, most of the cuts are outside of education. There aren't any major cuts to education next year because the governor is using reserves to kind of resolve the deficit for now. They also have a rainy day fund and what they call the public school system stabilization account. The Prop 98 funding represents the majority of the state's revenues. And again, the reason why we're looking at a deficit in the state is because the 2022 income taxes came in below the estimates. The LCFF funding is almost 80% of our funding, 77 to 80%. They're adding 1.07 COLA to our funding, which is up from the 0.76% that we heard in January. Our base grant goes from anywhere from 10,025 to 10,478, depending on the grade span. And our supplemental grant is around 2,200 to 2,096, again, depending on the grade span. We do not receive concentration because our unduplicated pupil count is below 55%, below that threshold. So what this looks like for Burlingame for next year, we are back to LCFF funding. We're not basic aid. We're projecting estimated anyway that we're not going to be basic aid next year. You can see the difference between next year and this year. It's $857 less per ADA. And we're projecting just a slightly lower ADA for next year, about 7 less ADA. Again, remember, we're funded by ADA and not enrollment. And our projected revenue for next year is about 36.4 million versus the 39.3 that we're expecting to receive this year. And again, that's all based on estimates on the property taxes that we're supposed to receive this year. Some of the assumptions for the next few years includes the COLA of the 1.07 and then 2.9 for next year and 3% for the following year. The STRS rates is about this is going to be the same for the next few years. That's the 19.1% for the STRS employer rate, and the CalPERS will go up every year in the next few years. Next year, it goes up to 27.05%, and then in 26, 27, it'll be 28. The funding per lottery is pretty steady, not much change there. And then we also received some money for the mandated block grant. The CPI, we apply to projections for like our books and supplies and also our services and operating expenditures. Some of the other things that are in May revise, the TK student teacher ratio is going to go down in 25-26. So we'll have smaller class sizes. That's still in the plan. And we're going to go from 12 to 1 to 10 to 1. And what's not on here, but I wrote down and I mentioned in my adopted budget summary, the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, the restrictions for spending that money is changing in 25-26 and 20 through 27-28. So they're going to have more restrictions on how we can spend that money. And then on the ELOP, they're proposing new expenditure deadlines. So we'll have 2 years to spend every year's allocation. So for example, this year's money will have 2 years to spend. And if we don't spend it, we have to return it to the state. And that's it. Based on these revisions, we'll talk about how it's going to look on our adopted budget.
And what the state actually adopts too, right?
Right.
This could change.
Yes.
No, it seems like education actually fared pretty well if this holds. Could have been worse given the magnitude of the deficit at the
Yes.
state level. So
there's no deferred payments, nothing like that in the proposal either. So it's
Okay.
good so far.
any questions on the presentation? Okay, great. Thank you, Marie. We'll move on to 19C. This is our public hearing for the proposed budget. I guess I need to open the hearing, right? Do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. We'll close the hearing. And we'll move on to 19D, which is the actual proposed adopted budget. This is the first read of the budget. And Marie as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're required to have a hearing and to present the budget before the board will actually or can actually adopt it. So at the next meeting, we'll have a recommendation to adopt the budget. For this budget period, it is from July 2024 through June 30, 2025. We are required to submit it to the San Mateo County Office of Education by July 1. And what's different from the interim reports is that the budget is actually, so it's going to be either approved with conditions or not approved. It's not like interims where we certify positive, negative, or qualify. And the final state budget should be approved by the legislature and the governor by the end of June. Because if they don't, then they don't get paid. With revenues, the majority of our funding next year is out of LCFF. We're not going to be basic aid. We're projecting about 39 million in both restricted and unrestricted LCFF dollars, and some federal revenue, 12%. Other state monies includes our lottery and some Prop 28 arts and music grant. Our local funding includes the donation we get from BCE as well as parcel tax. I did want to talk a little bit about property taxes because I think there was a comment about how our projection in the previous report compared to the estimates that came from the Santa Clara County Controller's Office. Just want to make sure that
San Mateo County?
Would I say Santa Clara? Sorry, San Mateo. I think you said San Mateo County Controller's Office. Just to clarify, it wasn't they don't, the property tax estimates, they don't come from the San Mateo County Office of Education. They come from the San Mateo County Controller's Office. So we get estimates. I shared with you the timeline that we actually received from the county. You should have this somewhere in front of you. We receive estimates from the county, at P1, what we call P1, which is the first reporting period when we report our attendance to the state.
Marie, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you for a second. For the audience that's here, because this was handed out to the board, there should also be copies in the back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just needed to let the audience know.
It's fine. Yes, we get property tax updates, and this is from a presentation that we actually received from the San Mateo County Controller's Office or the Tax Assessor's Office. In October, they give us an estimate on if we're going to receive RDA funds, which I believe the district no longer receives. And then October is the time that we get an estimate on our secured and unsecured homeowners taxes. And November, the controller reports total property taxes that school districts are estimated to get. And this is around the time that we received a notice from the County Office of Education when they received the estimates that we were actually falling into basic aid. And then April 1st, again, another estimate on RDA funds. And then April 15th, which I believe is what the public comment was based on, the estimates that the Controller's Office released at that time. And again, I just want to emphasize, these are all estimates. In August is when we'll get the actual property tax numbers. So this is the reason why the county is always telling us to be cautious and not count on, the initial estimates, and also the reason why we set aside $1 million in our reserves, because the taxes aren't always sure to come in as they're estimated. So the main difference between the estimate that we had shared at the last board interim report, the second interim report, was mainly because the supplemental tax at P1 was estimated at 6.9 million. And at P2, it's now estimated at 5.8 million, which is a difference of 1.1 million. So by August, we'll get our actual numbers. So moving on from here, our total revenues are 50.6 million. And our main source of funding, again, is from the local control funding formula, and it includes a base grant, an amount for the grade span adjustment, the supplemental grant, which is based on our unduplicated pupil percentage, which is 23%. And then some add-ons for TK for a total of 36.4 million. The graph on the corner there just shows you the amount that we received for supplemental. It's just a tiny bit, that 1.5 million, that red area there, and the rest is the base grant. We also have to contribute to our restricted programs such as special ed because they're underfunded. We have to provide services, and we contribute about $4 million to special ed. The routine restricted maintenance account is an account that we're also required to provide at least 3% of our total expenditures, which is 1.7. So our total contribution from our unrestricted general fund to restricted is about 5.7 million. Our total expenditures is about 52.4 million. 86% of that is salaries and benefits. We do have we still have one-time restricted funds with the Learning Recovery Grant and the Arts, Music and Instruction Materials Block Grant. This really helped to balance our budget for the next 2 years. So we're leveraging and maximizing what we have in these one-time funds, and we're able to shift some of our salaries and benefits to these programs, as well as some of our services and books and supplies. That should say 26, 27. So it has to shift back to general fund in 26, 27, not 27, 28. And if you recall, at second interim, we were projecting about a $2 million deficit. So we were able to shift some of those funds for the next couple of years to balance our budget. We'll still end up with an ending fund balance of about 3.7 million. And of that 3.7 million, we commit 1.5 million, 1 million to the uncertainty of the basic aid. And then about 500,000 for maintenance and facilities. And the reserves from the general fund is 1.7 million for a total of 3.8 million in our ending fund balance. In our multi-year projections, the assumptions are the COLA of 1.07% next year, and then 2.9% for the year 2 and 3.08% in year 3. And the STRS rates and the PERS rate I went over earlier. You can see no changes in STRS and about a 2% and 1.5% change in PERS in the next couple of years. This shows you our historical data of enrollment and our ADA and our unduplicated pupil counts. Our enrollment is pretty steady for the next couple of years. We'll go up about 44 students next year, and then maybe another 79. This is all based on our demographers' projections, and slightly lower in 26, 27. Our multi-year projections shows the bottom line, our net increase to our fund balance for next year is about $9,000. And then we have a balanced budget in the second year, but you can see how we'll have a deficit in year 3 because we're having to shift back all of the expenditures back to the general fund. And how that impacts our reserves, we'll still be able to maintain 9.8% reserves next year, and then it'll go down about 8.5% the following year, and then we're down to 6.2%. So it's still over the 3% minimum, but not quite the 10% minimum that the board policy has. We have other funds, our cafeteria fund, deferred maintenance funds, our special reserves, our bond fund, capital facilities funds, Fund 40, special reserves for capital outlay, our bond interest fund, and we also have a private trust fund. We remember the Fund 35, there was a little bit about $2 in there. We finally closed that out. Back in April, and we transferred whatever the $1.98 cash that was in there back into our general fund. In conclusion, our multi-year projection reflects balanced budgets in the next 2 years, but we'll be deficit in 26, 27, about 1.6 million. We have one-time restricted funds to shift back in 26, 27, and we'll be able to maintain over our 3% minimum. And we'll be recommending approval and adoption at the next board meeting on June 18th. And the final budget should be approved by the end of June. If there are any significant changes that impacts this budget, we'll be presenting it to the board within 45 days that the governor signs that budget.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, I was just gonna make a comment. It's not clear from the presentation, but there's a lot of work that went behind it. So I just wanted to thank you all. Getting to break even for each of the next 2 years was a huge undertaking. I think it sounds like we used our one-time grant money to figure out where we could spend that money to relieve other parts of the budget, and that works for 2 years until those funds are exhausted, and then we still have a structural deficit that pops up in year 3. And we know there's uncertainty around our LCFF revenue even this year, so it could look worse or better, but the numbers that we're looking at tonight, we're balanced for 2 years, and then we go back to the structural deficit. So I just want to say thank you for figuring that out, but we all still have work to do to figure out, how to. And I know there's more than just spending. We're not just spending and I asked this question earlier, but there were other reductions in budgeted costs to help plug the gap. It wasn't just, just using grant money, that there's some belt tightening that's built into this as well. And I just wanted to say thank you for getting through that.
Thank you.
So this is an information item. We have quite a few voting items left to go, and we have a 10 o'clock board policy cutoff. So we'll have to keep things moving. But why don't we move on to item 19E, which is, I believe that should also be you as well, Marie. Committed funds.
Yes, so this resolution designates the amounts that we're committing in our reserves. It includes the amount for the uncertainty of our property taxes, and then facilities and maintenance, the money that we set aside for the BCE Foundation, and curriculum adoption, the money that we set aside for the turf replacement as part of our MOU.
Thank you. Any questions? Can we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve resolution 2023/24-29 designating certain general funds as committed fund balance.
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. 19F, fund balances in excess of 3% minimum reserve requirements. Right.
By ed code, we're required to provide a statement regarding our reserves, and any amount in excess of 3%, we have to explain and provide a reason why. For us, it's because the board does have a reserve minimum requirement of 10%. That's why we maintain reserves over 3%.
Thank you.
This just kind of gives you the detail, and we have to submit this to the county as well as part of our adopted budget.
Great. Questions? Okay, I'll move approval of 19F, fund balances in excess of 3% minimum requirements.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. 19G is the CalShape plumbing grants. And Richard.
Good evening. Thank you. I'll be brief. So the district has coordinated with consultants who have assisted us in getting in line for CalShape grants through the California Energy Commission. They put us in touch with a plumbing contracting and assessment company that walked all of our sites, and they were able to determine that we have plumbing fixtures to the extent of approximately $226,000 worth of replacement that could be replaced and would be eligible for these grants. So that cost for the replacement would be fully covered by the grants that we're applying for. Now, the good news is that they've been able to get us in line, and we are actually eligible. And so the the benefit to the district, obviously, is that we would have more efficient plumbing fixtures, faucets, in our classrooms and restroom areas, which could help with the general fund, obviously, because we'd have lower water use. So the cost would be covered through the grants. We're grateful for these consultants who got us in line quickly. And so the documents that you have before you are a resolution that CalShape requires that the board take to basically declare that the project is not a project as defined by CEQA and is therefore exempt, and that you are accepting the grant. And then the actual grant agreement itself with the Energy Commission for the CalShape funding. And then the contract with Bottom Line Utility Solutions, who's the plumbing contractor who did the assessment and would actually do the work for the replacement of the fixtures.
Thank you. Any questions? Great. I'll move approval of 19H G, resolution 2324-32 CalShape plumbing grants. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. 19H District Office Modernization Access and HVAC bid results. Richard.
Yes, thank you. So we put the project out to bid for the district office. The plans are still being processed through the city for permitting, but we believe we are close to getting the permits. We received 3 bids for the project, all from pre-qualified contractors that are on the district's pre-qualified list: Rodan Builders, Beals Martin, and Workman Development. Rodan Builders was the low bidder at $3.29 million. You see in the staff report that we had an estimate of approximately $3.1 million. So the low bid is slightly over budget. We're recommending acceptance of that bid. The bid also does include approximately $300,000 in construction contingency that would be within the project. And then 2 alternates that we need to carry at this point. One is for the electrical service location, because we are still coordinating with PG&E, and it's an alternate location that PG&E may require. And it could be a little bit more costly than the preferred location that the engineer has designed for us. So that's an alternate that we may not have to proceed with, but our recommendation is to accept the additive alternate. And then if we don't have to proceed in that direction, we could get that funding back get those funds back via a deductive change order. The other alternate is for replacement of the sewer lateral that the city requires we include in our scope of the documents until we can actually get a camera down that line and scope it, which we would do as soon as the contractor is on board. So it's a additive alternate to the tune of $87,000. So if we can determine that that sewer lateral does not need to be replaced, and I'm not making any promises that it wouldn't, but if it doesn't, then we could do a deductive change order for that $87,000 and not incur those costs. So bottom line, we have the bid from Rodan Builders. We're asking for the board to accept the low bid and direct the superintendent to sign the contract with the contractor once we have approval of the documents from the city of Burlingame.
Great. Any questions? All right, I'll move approval of 19H District Office Modernization. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. 19I is McKinley TK Classroom Building CEQA Notice of Exemption.
Okay, so lastly, I have a 90-minute presentation on the California Environmental Quality Act that I will forego. No, this is a simple administrative act because the new TK classroom building at McKinley adds classroom spaces. We have to do due diligence and assess the project under the guise of CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. The consultant, David J. Powers, has done the assessment as we anticipated, the project is categorically exempt. There's various different categories of projects under CEQA that are just exempt from any further action. Projects that are of a small nature, projects that don't add a certain percentage of classrooms or square footage to an existing school site, modernization projects, et cetera. So the scope that we are planning at McKinley for the 2 new TK classrooms and the related adjunct spaces, as well as the solar canopies that we're going to be installing and the other playground improvements, all of those are categorically exempt. So we're asking you to act on that categorical exemption, and then the consultant will file those documents with the county and with the clearinghouse where the CEQA assessments are filed.
Thank you. Questions? I'll move approval of 19I. Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye, 5-0. 19J, we have this one is the.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks for hanging in. This is contract between Burlingame School District Food Service Management Company, Compass USA, Chartwells Division of Food Services and Management. We have a public comment from Bryant McLaughlin. Bryant?
So the Chartwells $1.8 million 2024-2025 contract incorporates the language on page 20 of the 2023-2024 contract, which states Chartwells will provide the following: nutritious, appropriate, and visually appealing meals. While this is a good sounding sentence, the people of Burlingame are being swindled because the term nutritious is not defined in the contract. Once again, this Thursday, BSD and Chartwells plan to serve at Roosevelt for breakfast a 56-gram serving of Lucky Charms, of which 19 grams is added sugar. The maximum daily recommended intake of added sugar by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Heart Association is 25 grams. And the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry recommends limiting added sugar to less than 5% of total daily calorie intake, or 20 grams for a child with a 1,600 calorie daily intake. A breakfast with 76% of your maximum daily intake of sugar by American Academy of Pediatric recommendations, or 96% of your maximum daily intake by the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry recommendations, is not nutritious. BSD and Chartwells have a warped view of the word nutritious, completely disconnected from the recommendations of America's pediatric healthcare professionals. It is a fraud on the people of Burlingame to continue spending thousands of dollars each year promoting and distributing Lucky Charms to the youth in our community on the basis of a flawed understanding of the word nutritious. Therefore, until this contract clearly and properly defines the word nutritious, it should be rejected. As an aside, the trustees have mentioned on many occasions a concern for mental health. As such, I brought for you today a recent review article detailing the close connection between nutrition, diet, gut microbiome, and mental health. I hope this article and those that it references will help you better see the importance of nutrition in achieving your goals for better mental health in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Great. Marie, this one you? Or both of you, either of you.
Want to
The
start? or you want me to
contracts.
start? You want me to start?
I was just gonna give a background. This is we're presenting renewal for 1 year. We had the first original contract approved last year. And in that contract, there's 4 one-year renewals. So this recommendation is for 1-year renewal with Chartwells.
How many more renewals are there?
Up to 3.
There's
4
4 in
total?
the contract, 4 one-year renewals.
And we are at 3.
We're in the first of the 4.
First,
3 more.
This is the second year, right? So last year was the first year, but this is the first of the 4 one-year renewals. Does that make sense? Almost think of it as a 5-year contract.
Optional renewals, right?
Right.
There could be up to 3 more after this year, if we were to go forward. But to give a little bit more context, we called Chartwells literally to the table. We met with their vice president and their regional manager last week out, and we told them some of our large concerns and showed pictures too. And they will be coming to meet with our principals during the month of June to work on some concerns prior to the first day of school the start of next school year. Marie and I have reviewed their contract. We have had some very honest conversations with them. And we've also just told them our expectations and our beliefs too. And also what we expect for our community, to be honest, and what we expect for our students. So they are coming out to meet with our principals during this month. They are sending out their registered dietitian to meet with our wellness community in the fall. So we talked about our wellness community, our wellness group. We printed out our wellness policy and our belief for our students and what we want our students to be eating and accessing within their day and their nutritional values. We also had great conversations about, we want our kids to get through the lines faster, right? Because, you know, there's days where they serve some great foods and our kids love it. And we want them to get through and be able to eat and sit and not try to shove in their food because the lines are so long. So we talked about point of sale machines, because free lunch for all is great, but we want to make sure that our kids have time to eat the food. So they will be sending their registered dietitian to the wellness committee to meet with our parents and our committee at large. They also have offered, and we will be taking them up to be meeting with parents directly too. So their higher ups will be meeting with parent and educational partners. So that's where we're at. We have a 60-day cancellation policy within this contract that at any time we can cancel within 60 days. That does mean we have students, it's about an average of like 2,500 meals a day that we're serving, lunches. So we need to think about what that looks like to replace that, because we have kids that this is the meal they get, right? They don't have a choice of bringing another meal, and it is free meals for all. So our goal is our kids not going hungry. So we'll continue to monitor it and make sure that we have large conversations with them. I appreciate the Lucky Charms component because was unaware. But that's great information for us to continue to follow up on too.
Thank you. Any questions? I think the ask is for us to approve the extension, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we have school starting the Monday after school gets out. So.
Okay, just before you do that, it's great that you're meeting with them. I hear complaints from more than one, obviously, public commenter or community members that the food could be better, and you know we should hold them to the contract. And I recognize it's a limited budget per meal, but still, they have to basically perform on the contract. So I'm glad you're having those meetings.
I agree with everything Doug said. And can I ask Marla, is there ever a way that we've ever, because this is an issue I hear a lot about. And I'm wondering if there's a way to solicit feedback from parents, their experience with it. Have we ever done that? Or is that up to each site principal?
No, that's a great question. So, and Matt, actually, I'm not, as far as I'm aware, we've never done it. I know that there's been like interviews where we've gone out and asked kids and done stuff, but it's been very anecdotal and not consistent, I feel like. But can you speak to that at a site?
I don't know.
Can you come to a microphone? Sorry, for the recording. I can't think of a consistent one though.
I don't remember of doing one, like a large survey across about food. We may have done one, but I don't remember it.
And I know at some schools, like at Jude's school, they have this one love thing, and at another school, nobody loves that. So, because I've heard them talk about it at principals meetings.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, anecdotally, I guess principals are very concerned about this issue. That's why we're going to the table with them.
Yeah, principals have asked to meet with them directly. That's why we're having them come out to meet with them.
It's a constant discussion point that we have since the beginning of the year. A lot of your pictures came from us.
The muffins.
Yeah.
We hear about the muffins.
Yeah. A lot of TEDdy Talks too. Just throwing that out there.
Marla, I have a question.
Okay.
Were you?
I'll just conclude my thought. I think it'd be great in a future board meeting if you had ideas about how to solicit feedback from the community with the food program contingent to include in this conversation of future food contracts.
I feel like, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they used to have like a smiley face thing that when kids left, they hit a button, like almost at the grocery store? I feel like my first year they had like this button machine.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? It was like 6 years ago. We might have to call Gabby.
We didn't have that at Roosevelt. So
Okay.
we want our button.
But no, and then that is one of the, and I will be on, that is something that is one of the things that is in their contract is menu planning with parents and students. And so that is something that we've already inquired about.
So if we voted tonight not to approve it, what happens?
My kids don't get fed July 1. It takes so it doesn't have an automatic renewal. It takes, we've heard that it takes about 60 days to get someone in place, because they also have all of our employees at all of our sites. And we have students that come for ESY and summer school and stuff, and we do need to provide meals for that.
Other comments or questions? Okay, well, I will move to approve the contract extension, item 19J, with Compass Chartwells.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Moving on, item 20, administration 2 of 2, trustee election timeline and outreach plan. We've had this on the agenda for a while, and it may not be anything new, but
It's every month, and nothing really new, just that we're still going forward. Text messages, emails, some meet and greets. I have met with a couple people in the last month. One, unfortunately, is not going to be able to run, but the conversations are still happening. Trustee Ghulam Hussein and I exchanged, and I will be meeting hopefully with someone soon. So yes, so please keep sending us new names for trustee area 2, 5, and nope, yeah, 2, 5, and 3. I almost thought it was yours. 2, 5, and 3. So, and we do have somebody officially running for trustee area 3. Katie J has put in her name for trustee 3 publicly, but 2 and 5, anybody has come forward. So,
thank you.
Okay.
All right, any questions? Okay, that one's informational. The next one is voting, which is our actual specifications for the election order. Marla?
Okay, so tonight I'm bringing forward the service agreement between, for election services between the superintendent of the Burlingame School District and the San Mateo Chief Elections Officer and Assessors, County Clerk, Recorder. This will allow for us, so I'm bringing that forward. That's one of them. And then the other one's the resolution for the Burlingame School District calling for an election to be held on November 5th, 2024 for the election of 3 members of the governing board representing trustee areas 2, 3, and 5, which is what we just said. And then a memo for the call of the election and the rationale behind it. That it just explains why we're doing it and what people need. So I need the 2 resolutions. Nope, Chris's resolution's attached, so I need the 1 resolution approved, please.
Okay. Any questions? Great. I'll move approval of resolution 23-24-34, call for the election.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. And we have next up 21 public statements related to non-agenda items, and we have 1 comment from Brian's.
I'm gonna start keeping a binder. There's only 2.
Yeah, I figured you could share.
Yeah,
If-
okay.
If you want, I can send you PDFs
Okay.
if you want another copy. So first I want to thank Dr. Shaw. She submitted a comment, public comment online about math education, following up on last month's comments. So last month, the board discussed math education. Multiple parents conveyed that the current curriculum leaves many students unchallenged, bored, and unprepared for future math-intensive courses of study, such as engineering. Some of the trustees expressed concern that offering challenging or accelerated math could have negative mental health effects. In the days following the meeting, I re-listened to the trustees' comment a second time on the BSD YouTube channel. Then I went and I read many studies on the topic of mental health and math, which is frequently referred to as math anxiety. And what I brought is one of the articles I've read titled Spotlight on Math Anxiety. The article highlights that there are many causes of math anxiety, including stereotypes, cultural expectations, and the fact that general anxiety and math anxiety correlate significantly. Additionally, the article discusses how math anxiety is reduced by increasing self-efficacy, which is the belief of a person that through their own action and effort, they can successfully perform math. The article further discusses how math anxiety is reduced by supporting positive attitudes towards math, providing adequate feedback, and showing how math is used in positive ways. Importantly, absent from the strategies is in minimizing math anxiety is the BSD approach of preventing students from accessing challenging, interesting math that prepares them for future math-intensive courses of study. So the take-home is that BSD can offer challenging and accelerated math, and it does not have to correlate with increased stress. And I hope you take that into account, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Brian. Item 22, board requested items. We have on here superintendent's multi-year plan, September 2024, and math pathways, following up on the last meeting's discussion around math for fall of 2024. Anything else? Yes, I should ask you all. Anything else we'd like to add to board requested items?
Nope.
Okay. Great. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it. I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye, 5-0.
Florence.
All right.